Chapter 966. Qianqian, don't mess around. A middle-aged man who looked righteous growled unhappily. Uncle. Yao Qianqian stomped her feet and called out unhappily. This isn't our house. It's not your place to fool around. Uncle Yao reprimanded. Everyone, I'm sorry. My niece has been spoiled by her parents from a young age. Please forgive her for offending you. Uncle Yao said apologetically. You bullied my lady. Is an apology enough? Feng Da's cold voice floated over. Yes, and me. They even injured me, Yuan Ho interrupted, as if he was afraid that Feng Da would forget him. Tell me, how are you going to compensate us? Feng Da smiled kindly, but his dark and bright eyes were cold. What requests do you have? As long as it's something I can do, there's no harm in saying it. Uncle Yao was very understanding. Even though the Yao family was big and there was no need for him to lower his head to these strangers, they were outnumbered and they were in Phoenix Cry Mountain. If the two sides really fought, they would definitely not have an advantage. He was afraid that others would benefit in the end. This was the last thing he wanted. Lung Ruoxue and the others had similar thoughts as the other party. Therefore, since the other party was willing to let them offer compensation, they would keep Yao Qianqian alive for the time being. In any case, they would only let her live for a while. Requests? There are, but I'm afraid you can't do it. Feng Da smiled evilly, his eyes filled with schemes. Please keep reading Zero in MYB Zero's novel. Calm, what request? You can tell me. Uncle Yao took a deep breath and kept warning himself to calm down. He could not be as impulsive as Qianqian. You robbed us yesterday, and we're going to rob you today. So, take out all the valuable things on you. Feng Da said with a smile. This? Uncle Yao hesitated. At this moment, he even felt that the other party was a little ruthless. It was known that many of the cultivators carried their precious items with them. Their items would naturally no longer exist if they were dead. However, this person asked them to hand over all their belongings. Wasn't that too much? After all, they had only robbed some rabbit meat yesterday. What? You want? Feng Da sneered. We only robbed some rabbit meat yesterday. Isn't it a little too much for you to want to take all our belongings because of that rabbit meat? Uncle Yao asked softly. Not to mention just rabbit meat. Even if you robbed a rabbit fur, if we encounter it today, we have to compensate with all our belongings. Otherwise, we'll settle it with force. Feng Da said disapprovingly. I'm afraid this matter will have to be decided by your miss, right? Uncle Yao said implicitly. In other words, could he make the decision? However, Lung Ruoxue, who was enjoying the attention from the freak, had no time to care about Uncle Yao. She couldn't even be bothered to raise her head. If I can't make the decision, would I waste my breath on you? Feng Da said speechlessly. Well, it seemed that this old man looked down on his status. So, are you going to give it to us voluntarily? Or do you want us to use force? Feng Da asked impatiently. Uncle, don't give it to them. I don't believe they dare to do anything to our Yao family. Yao Qianqian interrupted again. Qianqian, shut up. Uncle Yao said with a headache. Uncle. Yao Qianqian wanted to say something, but she swallowed her words under the threat of her uncle's gaze. Miss Yao, didn't your parents teach you not to always talk about your family when you're out? This is very annoying. If someone really wanted to kill you, who would care about your family? Feng Da said with a faint smile. They had already offended one of the ladies of the Yao family. They were not afraid of one sheep. Sponsored content, everyone. Qianyan is young and insensible. I hope you won't hold it against her. Uncle Yao said helplessly. I refuse. I'm a petty person who holds grudges. So, Uncle Yao, what do you think we should do? Feng Da said as if he was listening to him. Please keep reading on MYB 0X and 0VL. C0M, everyone, actually Qianqian is not to blame for what happened last night. Uncle Yao did not answer Feng Da's question. Instead, he mentioned what happened last night. Oh, then who is to blame? Feng Da's gaze wandered across the faces of Uncle Yao and Yuan Ho, making the two of them shudder. Of course it's his fault. Yao Qianqian pointed at Yuan Ho and said fiercely. Little monkey, tell me the truth. What exactly is going on? Feng Da glared and roared. Boo-hoo, it's really not my fault. Yuan Ho said fearfully. Then explain everything clearly. If you hide anything, you know the consequences, Fengde threatened. I was cleaning up the rabbit meat yesterday. This ugly monster came over and wanted to try 2 of them, but I didn't give them to her, so she called some people to beat me up and snatch those rabbits. That's it, Yuan Ho confessed. You're still addressing me as an ugly monster. Yao Qianqian interrupted. You're an ugly freak to begin with. You're an arrogant, ugly monster. Yet you still dream of seducing me. I'm already taken. Who would fancy you? Yuan Ho said disdainfully. You're courting death. Yao Qianqian was so angry that her cheeks turned red. She reached out to teach Yuan Ho a lesson. Not only is she an ugly monster, but she's also an unwanted tigress. The man who marries you will definitely be unlucky for the rest of his life. Yuan Ho said very viciously. Then it hid behind Fengde in fear, only revealing its head. Fengde and the others watched this farce and did not know whether to laugh or cry. Sigh. No wonder Yuan Ho did not dare to tell the truth. So there was such a thing. However, what did Yuan Ho mean by he was taken? Uncle Yao, everyone should know the truth now. How do you think this matter should be handled? Fengde said with a faint smile. Even though he did not like that monkey, in the eyes of outsiders, the monkey was on their side, so he naturally could not stand by and do nothing. Chapter 967. This. Uncle Yao was sweating profusely and did not know how to answer. Could he say that his niece was in the wrong? However, this matter was obvious. The people present were neither deaf nor blind, so he really could not lie through his teeth. Moreover, if he really said it, he was afraid that the other party would not let it go. Everyone, I feel that both sides are at fault in this matter. Let's punish both parties equally without considering guilt. It's wrong for Qianqian to bring people to snatch the meat and injure others, but a man shouldn't be calling a young girl as ugly. Uncle Yao hesitated for a moment and avoided the main point. At the same time, he was secretly pleased. The other party had nothing to say now. She's ugly to begin with. Yuan Ho said indignantly. These people outside were really bad. He was the victim, but now he had to suffer injustice. It was really unfair. He couldn't help but curse silently. Little monkey, don't be like Miss Yao. You're so uncultured. How can you children interrupt when adults are talking? Fengde scolded. Yuan Ho obeyed and shut its mouth, not daring to speak again. Uncle Yao, according to you, your niece brought people to snatch meat and beat them until they were on their last breath. It's equivalent to being called ugly, right? Fengde asked with a faint smile. What do you mean, sir? Uncle Yao asked carefully, afraid that he would fall into the other party's trap. Why don't you call me ugly too? Then I'll beat you up until you're half dead. What do you think of my suggestion? Fengde asked innocently. When Uncle Yao heard Fengde's words, he almost fainted. What's wrong? Calm down, be agitated. It's not good for your health. You have to be careful in all aspects when you're old. Fengde said angrily. Please keep reading Zero in MYB Zero's novel. Come, however, I say your Yao family's upbringing is too poor. The dignified Miss Yao actually seduced a man for a few pieces of rabbit meat. If she can't seduce him, she'll snatch him away. The morals of the world are degenerating day by day. Fengde added. However, the little monkey is right. Your niece is really ugly. Her ugly heart is even uglier, Fengde said to himself, not looking at Uncle Yao's darkening expression. Yes, that's great. Yuan Ho, who was hiding behind Fengde, agreed with him. He was so happy that he wanted to curse in his heart. Damn. How did he train his eloquence to anger the living and the dead? He was an idol. Behave yourself. Children are not allowed to interrupt when adults are talking. Don't be like Miss Yao and be ill-mannered. Fengde patted the ape's head and reprimanded. Yes. Fengde obediently shut his mouth. Now that he had already treated Fengde as his idol, he naturally listened to him. Uncle Yao, do you think you can agree to my conditions? Tell me. It's already afternoon, and we haven't eaten lunch. Fengde urged. Uncle Yao couldn't say a complete sentence for a long time. It was obvious that he was agitated. Sir, we were in the wrong yesterday. I apologize on behalf of the Yao family. However, it's a little too much for you to ask us to hand over all our assets, another middle-aged man said calmly. Too much. Why don't I think so? It's too late to admit that it's your fault. I'll add an additional condition. Of course, you can also choose to say that I'm an ugly monster, and then be beaten almost to death by my brothers and me. That way, you won't have anything to lose in terms of assets. Choose one of the two. Choose for yourself. Feng De said with a smile. As the saying went, humans died for money and birds died for food. He just didn't know how the Yao family would choose. May we discuss this? The middle-aged man asked politely. Of course, but my patience is limited, Feng De reminded him. All right, I'll give you an answer as soon as possible, the middle-aged man said helplessly. Sponsored content with that, he returned to the Yao family's team and discussed with everyone. However, after discussing for a while, everyone's opinions were not unanimous. Both Uncle Yao and him were in favor of spending money to avoid disaster, but the younger generation of the Yao family, led by Yao Qianqian, were very disapproving of this. They even felt that Uncle Yao and that middle-aged man were too cowardly. How could the descendants of the Yao family be threatened by others? In the end, Uncle Yao forcefully unified the opinions as an elder. However, he was quite disappointed with the performance of these juniors of the Yao family, because they did not understand his heart. Alas, he was not afraid of trouble. Wasn't he compromising so much for their lives? Who asked the other party to have nearly 3 times the number of people? He was really not confident that he could protect everyone. Unfortunately, the juniors of the Yao family, led by Yao Qianqian, did not understand. We've discussed it. We're willing to give up all our assets. The middle-aged man announced on behalf of the Yao family's uncle, who was trembling with anger. At the same time, he secretly noted down the faces of these people. The person who dared to rob the Yao family and embarrass them had yet to be born in this world. Therefore, the Yao family would remember this debt today. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. C0M. We've discussed it. We're willing to give up all our assets. The middle-aged man announced on behalf of the Yao family's uncle, who was trembling with anger. At the same time, he secretly noted down the faces of these people. The person who dared to rob the Yao family and embarrass them had yet to be born in this world. Therefore, the Yao family would remember this debt today. Sure, but as I said, I have an additional condition. Feng De smiled evilly. What condition? The middle-aged man's heart skipped a beat. A bad feeling welled up in his heart. Let that Miss Yao Qianqian be a bed warmer for the little monkey. After all, the little monkey was injured by her and her men. She has to be responsible, Feng De said calmly. What? 2 voices sounded at the same time in disbelief. One belonged to Yao Qianqian, and the other to Yao Qianqian. Look at how united the 2 of you are. What a perfect match, Feng De teased with a smile. To be honest, he had thought of this idea by accident. He had no choice. Who asked this Yuan Ho to always have designs on his miss? Chapter 968. The daughter of the Yao family. 4. Idol. I am taken. I don't want this ugly woman, Yuan Ho said in fear. He was afraid that his idol would force this ugly woman on him. Then he would cry to death. I don't want you either. Yao Qianqian roared angrily. She hated Feng De to death. This is not up to you. I told you you are just the additional condition. Feng De ignored the burning anger in Yao Qianqian's eyes and said calmly, I say, little monkey, even though this Yao Qianqian doesn't have a good temper and is an ugly freak, she's still a woman. Her family background is passable. Just use her. Feng De pulled Yuan Ho in front of him and advised. No. I don't want to. If you dare to force this annoying woman on me, I'll commit suicide. Yuan Ho thought for a long time before coming up with this method to threaten Feng De. Haha. When Feng De heard this threat, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. He thought to himself, if you want to die, then die. It's not like you're anyone to me. It's none of my business. However, under such circumstances, of course, I can't say that. Little monkey, don't take things too hard. If you don't want it, then forget it. I won't force you, Feng De said helplessly. Then he said to the middle-aged man, "Since the little monkey is unwilling, forget about the additional conditions. However, you have to remember that your Yao family still owes me a condition." What the hell? What kind of person was this? They had already agreed to hand over all their assets, but in the end, they still owed him an additional condition. What was going on? The middle-aged man, who had always been calm, trembled in anger when he heard Feng Da's words. However, he quickly calmed down. Then he took a few deep breaths and gritted his teeth. "I understand. Damn it. You." At this moment, Yao Qianqian, who was ignored, was about to shout without caring about her image, but her mouth was covered by the middle-aged man. Sigh. He was really afraid that this little ancestor would say something she shouldn't. At that time, they would probably owe her even more. He hated her in his heart. Please keep reading 0 in my box in 0 VL. Calm then. He handed Yao Qianqian over to Uncle Yao to manage. Then he collected all the storage rings from the Yao family and handed them to Feng De. Lin Yuan took the storage rings from Feng Da's hand and searched them one by one. As he searched, he muttered, "Where's my knife? Where did you hide my dagger? Is it that one?" Feng De gestured with his eyes for Lin Yuan to look at Yao Qianqian's waist. "Yes, that's my knife." Lin Yuan rushed forward and snatched the dagger from Yao Qianqian's waist. He gently stroked the scabbard like a lover who had lost and regained her lover. "That's my knife. Give it back." Yao Qianqian roared in anger. She had finally taken a fancy to a handy weapon, and she could not let anyone snatch it away. At this moment, she had long forgotten that she had snatched the dagger from Yuan Ho. "Yours? What proof do you have that it will answer you when you call it?" Lin Yuan asked with a smirk. "Will it answer you if you call it?" Yao Qianqian said, refusing to admit defeat. "Of course, little Yuan. I'm sorry you had to go through that." Lin Yuan whispered apologetically to the dagger. Buzz. The blade came out of its sheath and made a buzzing sound, as if it was a child whining to its master about its grievances. "No. This is impossible." Yao Qianqian could not believe what she was seeing. It was just a dagger. How could it understand human language? No wonder her uncle said at a glance that this knife was extraordinary. However, she had studied it all night and had not found anything unusual. At most, it was sharper than ordinary knives. "Miss Yao, my little Yuan said that it hates you," Lin Yuan said with a wicked smile. His bright eyes were filled with schadenfreude. Hee. Even though this dagger was not sentient, he knew Xiao Yuan's emotions because his blood was added to it when it was refined. With this special relationship, even if little Yuan was snatched away by someone else, no one could really use it. It was even possible that their whereabouts would be exposed. This was because as long as it found an opportunity, little Yuan would definitely contact him, someone who was related to him by blood. However, because little Yuan was a little far away from him yesterday, it could not contact him even if it wanted to. As for today, it was precisely because he sensed little Yuan's existence that he had this coincidence. Yao Qianqian almost died of anger at Lin Yuan's words. Damn it! How could a dagger say that he hated her? "Does little Yuan want to take revenge yourself?" Lin Yuan asked with a smile. The dagger named Little Yuan floated in the air, and then swayed its blade as if it was nodding. Immediately after, everyone saw a cold light flash. Please keep reading on my box in 0 VL. Com. Chapter 969. The Depressed Yao Family 1. Ah! A piercing scream suddenly sounded. It was deafening, earth-shattering, and made everyone's blood run cold. Everyone present looked curiously at the source of the scream, just in time to see a flash of red light fall to the ground. Immediately, a totally naked person appeared in front of everyone, and that person was none other than Yao Qianqian. Immediately, everyone was a little dumbfounded, especially the eldest uncle of the Yao family who was watching over Yao Qianqian. After all, Yao Qianqian was the closest to him, so he was the most agitated. Damn. What was going on? Logically speaking, every man would like to use their eyes to take advantage of others. However, if the person being taken advantage of was his own niece, this would be a little unacceptable. However, the other men were not as depressed as Uncle Yao. After being stunned for a moment, they watched openly. After all, such an opportunity was rare, especially since this person was the daughter of the Yao family. Hee. It was a rare sight. As for the person involved, there was no reaction other than a scream at the moment of the incident. By the time she was fully awake, her entire body would have been seen by everyone. Wow! Yao Qianqian has a good figure. Someone in the crowd shouted. At the same time, one of her admirers in the Yao family team took off his coat and draped it over Yao Qianqian's body. However, not only did he not manage to cover her properly, he even received a slap. Damn it! What were you doing earlier? And all of you are dead. Yao Qianqian roared angrily. At this moment, she had the urge to kill someone. These smelly men usually said all sorts of sweet words, but they could not be counted on at the critical moment. They were only concerned with taking advantage of her like everyone else. How could she not be angry? Qianqian, I'm sorry. I was also scared silly. Admirer number 1 was at a loss. At that time, he was a little scared. However, later, thinking of this, he did not dare look at Yao Qianqian in her anger. Uncle, you have to avenge me. Yao Qianqian looked at Uncle Yao with tears in her eyes. Her beautiful face was still filled with grievance. Please keep reading on my box novel. C0M Qianqian, calm down. Uncle Yao sighed softly and said helplessly. His cheeks were still slightly red. Revenge? Who to take revenge on? The lecherous knife that cut off Qianqian's clothes? Or the owner of the knife? At a time like this, he felt that it was not appropriate to find anyone. They had to endure this anger for the time being. I can't calm down. If my parents were here, they definitely wouldn't watch me suffer such humiliation. Yao Qianqian roared angrily. However, this time Uncle Yao was not angry. He understood Qianqian's feelings. After calming down, he said comfortingly, Qianqian, now that your parents are not around, you have to listen to Uncle. Then Uncle will help me take revenge and kill all of them, Yao Qianqian said hatefully. In fact, she not only wanted to kill Fengde and the others, but she also wanted to kill all the men present who saw her body. Otherwise, if this matter spread, she would never be able to marry into the Ning family in this lifetime. Qianqian, calm down first. We have to discuss this matter carefully. Uncle Yao reminded her softly. They couldn't kill all the teams present. Besides, he didn't have the ability. Everyone, what happened just now was just an accident. I hope that everyone will not spread this matter on my account. After all, this matter concerns Qianqian's reputation. Please give our Yao family face. Our Yao family will not treat everyone unfairly. Uncle Yao said to everyone present without giving Yao Qianqian a chance to react. Don't worry. We will keep Miss Yao's secret. One of them immediately said. That's good. Thank you everyone. In the future, all of you will be good friends of my Yao family. Uncle Yao said eloquently, and the people he mentioned naturally included Leng Ruoxue and the others. Secret. She believed that only the dead could keep secrets. Yao Qianqian could not help but snort in her heart. However, she did not interrupt her uncle. However, she knew that she could not count on her uncle. Everyone, thank you for giving me face. Uncle Yao specially said to Fengde and the others. The smile on his face looked very sincere. However, Fengde and the others knew that this Uncle Yao was definitely a ruthless person. He was almost angered to death, but he could still submit and stand tall. Such people were often the most difficult to deal with, so they secretly raised their guard. Uncle Yao is too polite. We sympathize with Miss Yao's accident. Sigh. My condolences. Fengde said politely. My condolences. What condolences? Qianqian isn't dead. Hearing Fengde's words, Uncle Yao couldn't help but curse in his heart. However, he had no choice but to show a grateful expression and say, thank you for understanding. Same. Fengde also smiled. Yao Qianqian almost lost her temper as she listened to their conversation. However, she was once again ignored by everyone. After pretending to be polite to the other party, Fengde and the others, who had achieved their goal, bade farewell to a few teams. When the other teams saw this, they quickly slipped away. In fact, they all knew in their hearts that Uncle Yao had humbled himself, because he was outnumbered. However, if the others left and they stayed, their teams would definitely become the Yao family's punching bag. Therefore, in a short while, other than the Yao family's team, the other teams had all left. Please keep reading on my box novel. C0M. After Lung Ruoxue and the others left, they found a flat place and stopped moving forward. However, as soon as they set up the tent, they realized that the other teams they had encountered earlier had also arrived. Haha. Hello everyone. We're really fated. An older man said with a smile. That's right. It has to be fate. Seeing that the young lady and the others had no intention of speaking, Fonda could only reply on their behalf. Fate. He didn't know if it was really fate or not. In fact, he knew very well that these people were clearly afraid of being avenged by Uncle Yao, so they followed them here. However, it was good that they were here. The more people, the merrier. Chapter 970. The depressed Yao family, too. Just as Fonda was chatting with the man, the Yao family's team arrived. When Fonda saw this, he immediately understood. It seemed that the Yao family was sticking to them. Why was the lesson just now too light? I didn't expect everyone to be here. Hee. That's great. Uncle Yao smiled happily. That's right. We are really fated. Fonda said with a fake smile. He was extremely annoyed by Uncle Yao. Hee, Uncle Yao, I won't chat with you anymore. I still have to cook. Fonda said again. Then he really went to light a fire and started cook. Before long, the fragrance of the food assaulted their noses, tempting everyone. Most of them were too embarrassed to ask for it. They were not very familiar with each other after all. However, some people were very thick-skinned, such as the one in front of them. Share your food with us. It's too fragrant. Qianqian wants to eat it. Admirer number 1 walked up to Fonda and the others. His sneaky eyes kept glancing at Lung Ruoxue from time to time. Don't you have hands and feet? Fonda asked with a faint smile. What do you mean? Asked Admirer 1, puzzled. Please keep reading on my box novel. C0M. You have hands and feet, but you don't know how to cook. You're already so old, yet you still have the cheek to beg. I'm already embarrassed for your parents. How did you give birth to such a disappointing thing like you? Fonda scolded bluntly. I am not begging. I just want to order something from you. Admirer number 1's face was red, but he had to explain. Do you think this is different? Fonda said speechlessly. What kind of IQ did this person have? Of course, only beggars ask for food. I'm not a beggar, said Admirer number 1 self-righteously. Haha. This is too funny. How did your parents give birth to such a top-notch child like you? Fonda laughed wildly without caring about his image. When everyone present heard number 1's words, even though their laughter was not as exaggerated as Fonda's, they still sneered softly. What are you laughing at? What's so funny? Bellowed number 1 a little angrily. He really didn't know what these people were laughing about. There were times when they couldn't laugh. With that, number 1 stormed back to his team. You can't even do such a small thing. You're really useless. Yao Qianqian was furious to see her most loyal admirer, number 1, return empty-handed. She raised her hand and slapped number 1 in the face. Qianqian, they're too bad. I said you wouldn't give it to me even if you wanted to eat it. Number 1 complained as she covered her slapped face. She still looked aggrieved. A piece of trash is a piece of trash. I'll get it myself. Yao Qianqian said angrily. She didn't believe that she wouldn't get something to eat. For some reason, she just wanted to eat the food those people made, especially when she saw them surrounding the devastatingly beautiful woman like stars. The flames of jealousy in her heart burned. After saying that, Yao Qianqian walked directly to Lung Ruoxue and said with a smile, "The food that sister and the others have is so fragrant. Please try it." With that, she reached out to take it, but before her hand could touch the food, it was knocked away by Lung Ruoxue's divine power. "Little sister, what is the meaning of this?" Yao Qianqian pretended to be puzzled. "I've already said that Grandpa doesn't allow me to acknowledge random sisters, so please don't try to get close to me," Lung Ruoxue said without giving them any face. However, she couldn't help but feel uneasy. Yao Qianqian's tolerance was quite strong. She had just made a fool of herself, But now she was actually hanging around in front of them as if nothing had happened. Ahem. At this moment, 2 coughs sounded. Lung Qingtian looked at his precious granddaughter with an aggrieved expression. Actually, he had wanted to say, "My precious granddaughter, you're using your grandfather as a weapon again." However, he never had the chance. "That's right. Miss Yao, we're not familiar with you," Fengde echoed. In fact, he quite admired Yao Qianqian. If it were any other woman, she would probably be too ashamed to face anyone after encountering such a thing. However, look at her. It was as if nothing had happened. How strong was this person's tolerance? Women. They were definitely the most terrifying creatures in the world. They could not be provoked. That's right. Miss Yao, we're not familiar with you, Fengde echoed. In fact, he quite admired Yao Qianqian. If it were any other woman, she would probably be too ashamed to face anyone after encountering such a thing. However, look at her. It was as if nothing had happened. How strong was this person's tolerance? Women. They were definitely the most terrifying creatures in the world. They could not be provoked. Please keep reading on my box novel. C0M Schwer, this Yao Qianqian is probably a big problem. Why don't we? Lung Qingtian made a gotcha gesture and whispered. And that Uncle Yao. He's definitely a huge disaster, Fengde added. You have to be calm. There are so many people here. We can't kill everyone else, right? Otherwise, news will definitely spread. We already have enough trouble. It's better to avoid trouble. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. Alright then. In any case, we didn't suffer any losses. However, what if the Yao family takes the initiative to provoke us? Fengde couldn't help but ask. As long as Yao Qianqian was in the Yao family's team, it was impossible not to find trouble with them. They'll agree at random. Lung Ruoxue said calmly. Yes, they will probably set up camp here tonight, so everyone should be more vigilant, Fengde reminded them. Abnormality was evil. The Yao family's attitude was too abnormal. Yeah. They all nodded. After the meal, Chengwu and Songdi stayed outside while the others went into the tent. As for the ape, it was thrown into a tent because Fengde disliked it. Chengwu and Songdi sat by the fire and chatted. From time to time, they secretly observed the various teams. Of course, they paid most attention to the Yao family's team. They flipped through the pages and stared into the night. Safe and sound. The next day, everyone continued on their way. However, after a few days, several teams actually took the same path. This situation gave Lung Ruoxue a headache. Chapter 971. The Depressed Yao Family 3. After finding a place to set up camp and setting up the tent, Lung Ruoxue leaned on the freak and glanced at the other teams with her beautiful eyes, feeling helpless. It was really inconvenient to do anything when she was followed like this. However, she could understand. Those people were mainly afraid that the Yao family would secretly attack them, so they felt that it would be safer to be with other teams. However, what about the Yao family? Little sister, is he your guard? At this moment, Yao Qianqian walked forward and pointed at the freak. Even though Lung Ruoxue had repeatedly ordered her not to call him that, Yao Qianqian acted as if she didn't hear it. As long as she came in front of them, she would still call him sister. What can I do for you, Miss Yao? Lung Ruoxue raised her eyelids and asked calmly. Looking at Yao Qianqian's lively appearance now, it seemed that the previous incident did not affect her much. She was indeed the daughter of a big family. Little sister, I think he's not bad. He's qualified to be my guard. Why don't you sell him to me? How about I offer 100 superior grade crystals? Yao Qianqian said self-righteously. 100 superior grade crystals? Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly and looked at Yao Qianqian, as if she was looking at a joke. She couldn't help but wonder if Yao Qianqian had gone crazy because she had suffered too much shock. Yes. If he wasn't so good-looking, he wouldn't be worth so much money, Yao Qianqian explained. There were many people in the god realm and it was difficult to earn crystals, so she was very confident that the other party would be satisfied with the price she offered. Did you hear that? It's your face that helped you raise the price. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be worth 100 superior grade crystals. Lung Ruoxue caressed his handsome face and teased. Yes, there are too many people in the god realm, so no one is worth much. However, miss, don't sell me at this price, the freak begged, pretending to be afraid. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. Don't worry, I won't sell you at this price, Lung Ruoxua promised. Please keep reading on MYB0X and 0VL. If you think this price is too low, then I'll increase it by another 50 superior grade crystals. Yao Qianqian heard the two of them talking as if no one was around, and made up her mind. After all, 150 superior grade crystals could buy more than a dozen guards in the god realm. However, she only wanted to buy the one who was concerned about the woman. 150. Lung Ruoxua looked at Yao Qianqian like she was looking at a fool. Yes, this price is not low. Sell him to me. Yao Qianqian pretended to be weak and begged. No, Lung Ruoxua said impatiently. To be honest, she was a little tired of being pestered for a few days. If she hadn't been waiting for the opportunity, she would have attacked long ago. Lung Ruoxua. Yao Qianqian refused to give up and wanted to continue persuading Lung Ruoxua. But she was interrupted by Lung Ruoxua. Miss Yao, if you don't understand human language, I'll say it again. I'm not selling. Lung Ruoxua said impatiently. Get lost. The freak was even more direct. He secretly sent the annoying Yao Qianqian flying. In an instant, the people present, who were secretly watching their situation, saw Yao Qianqian fly up like a kite. As for how she flew, no one saw it. Moreover, seeing that Yao Qianqian had already flown out of their sight, they could not help but laugh. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and look for third miss. Uncle Yao said with a headache. He could not help but complain in his heart. He had already said that he would let Qianqian endure for a few days. Why couldn't Qianqian be more obedient? Yes. The Yao family received the order and dispersed, each running in a direction to find someone. After a long time, when everyone had finished their dinner, they saw Yao Qianqian limping back, supported by someone. Everyone immediately understood. Some couldn't help but think that it was a pity that the Yao family had found her so quickly. However, they wouldn't help but wonder where had she fallen into that resulted in such a sorry state. At this moment, Yao Qianqian's clothes were tattered, and there were a few black spikes stuck in some places. She also smelled bad. She seemed to have fallen into the nest of some beast. Everyone suppressed their laughter and guessed. Haha. I say, Yao Qianqian, what's wrong with you? Did you get intimate with a wild boar? Fengde looked at Yao Qianqian's sorry state and laughed maniacally. Hee. Others might be afraid of the Yao family, but he was not. Hearing Fengde ask what many people were thinking, those who wanted to laugh but did not dare to laugh too openly could only turn their heads and laugh secretly. However, their constantly shaking shoulders revealed their thoughts. Damn it, shut up! Yao Qianqian roared angrily. Even though she was in a sorry state, she was not very seriously injured. However, the smell on her body was so bad that she could not stand it. Please keep reading on MYB0X and 0VL. Come, Miss Yao, don't be angry. We're really curious where you flew to. Fengde continued to ask fearlessly. It's none of your business. Yao Qianqian roared angrily. Then, with the help of the person beside her, she crawled into her tent and did not appear in front of everyone the entire night. I'm sorry to have embarrassed myself in front of everyone. Uncle Yao said with a face full of shame. Sigh. The Yao family's reputation had been completely lost in the Phoenix Cry Mountain. This also strengthened his will. These people had to die. Otherwise, their Yao family would become the laughingstock of the entire god realm. Uncle Yao, where did your niece fall to? Fengde continued to ask, as if he would not stop if he could not get an answer. Sorry to disturb everyone's rest. Uncle Yao did not answer Fengde's question. After saying that, he returned to his tent. How could he answer this? He could not possibly say that his niece had fallen into a wild boar's den and was chased into the bushes by a wild boar in heat. Now just thinking about that scene made him feel a little incredulous. This was too coincidental. The rest of the Yao family also went into their tents to avoid being questioned. Chapter 972. The depressed Yao family 4. However, someone walked a little slower and was pulled into the bushes by Fengde. This person was none other than number 1. What do you want? Number 1 looked at the two people in front of him and clenched his clothes tightly in fear. His body trembled like a fallen leaf in the wind. We don't want to do anything. We just want to understand the situation from you. Don't be afraid. Fonda comforted him with a smile. Fuck, he scared this guy. He made it seem like they were going to do something to him. I don't know anything. Don't ask me. Number 1 was very afraid. In fact, he knew what the two people in front of him wanted to ask, but they had all been warned not to tell anyone about this. Okay. We want to ask. Then tell us yourself, okay? Fonda coaxed as if he was coaxing a child. I can't talk about it. Don't make me do it, begged number 1. Boo. Why was he so unlucky? Why was he the one being pulled? Then say whatever you can, Fonda said with a look that said, we won't force you. Really? Number 1 sounded skeptical, and she wondered to herself if they could be so kind. Of course it's true. It's definitely more real than pearls. Fonda patted his chest and promised. Please keep reading on MYB0X and 0VL. Calm. After hearing Fonda's guarantee, number 1 did not completely believe him. Then he turned his gaze to Lin Yuan, who had not said a word. His meaning was self-evident. I promise not to force you either, Lin Yuan said grudgingly. Then I can only say a little. After that, you have to let me leave. Number 1 started giving out his conditions. Yes. Fonda and Lin Yuan nodded in unison. They thought to themselves, it's up to us to decide if we want to finish talking. This stupid little Red Riding Hood has fallen for their tricks. Yes. Fonda and Lin Yuan nodded in unison. They thought to themselves, it's up to us to decide if we want to finish talking. This stupid little Red Riding Hood has fallen for their tricks. However, perhaps because he was too excited or because he had found someone to talk to, number 1, who had been shy, became more and more agitated. In the end, he simply let go completely and spat out everything he knew, including this one. What was more, he had secretly recorded what had happened with a memory crystal. He had wanted to use it when he was depressed, but without realizing it, he had willingly handed it over to Fonda naturally. Fonda would not take away someone else's favor. After making a copy of the information recorded on the crystal, he returned it to number 1. He even kindly reminded him to be careful and not be discovered. His words actually moved number 1 to tears, and she almost cried. After obtaining the information he wanted, Fonda knocked number 1 out and fed him a pill before leaving with Lin Yuan. When they returned to the tent, Cheng Wu and the others were waiting for them. Well, did you get it out of him? Cheng Wu asked curiously. Of course. Fonda said proudly. Not only that. That guy even confessed to 8 generations of his ancestors, Lin Yuan said speechlessly. In the end, the guy was extremely cooperative. He answered whatever they asked unless he didn't know. That boy's got some sense, said Song Di with satisfaction. Oh right, take a look. It's exciting, Fonda said with a wicked smile. He and Lin Yuan had already seen the information on it, and almost laughed out loud. Okay. Everyone took the memory crystal and passed it around. After reading it, Cheng Wu, who was laughing the most exaggeratedly, fell to the ground. This memory crystal is really a good thing. Unfortunately, only the God Realm has it. After laughing enough, Cheng Wu said with a regretful expression, please keep reading on MYB0X and 0VL. There are very few memory crystal mines in the God Realm, so ordinary families can't afford such luxury goods, Lung Ruoxua explained with a faint smile. The memory crystal in Fonda's hand was given to them by their ancestor. It was said to be a reward for his refining. Miss, it would be great if Bal woke up. That way, it can help us find the crystal mine, Fonda said expectantly. Yes, but both baby and it have been sleeping for a long time. They should be waking up soon. Lung Ruoxua guessed secretly. She didn't know what changes the two little things would have after waking up this time. She was looking forward to it. Miss, I heard from that guy that the Yao family's uncle wants to kill us all. Should we inform the other teams? Fonda asked. Of course. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a loss if only we knew? Our show isn't that good. Lung Ruoxua chuckled. Then I'll go find them now, said Fengda. After saying that, he turned around and prepared to leave the tent. Tell them tomorrow. It doesn't matter. The Yao family won't arrive so soon. Everyone should rest early today. Lung Ruoxia said and brought everyone into the bracelet. The next day, when Fengda, Lin Yuan, Cheng Wu, and Song Di each went to the teams to tell them about this, the leaders of the two teams immediately turned pale with fear. What should we do? We can't afford to offend the Yao family. Why don't we leave Phoenix Cry Mountain quickly? It's all your fault. If you hadn't provoked the Yao family, we wouldn't have been killed. One of the leaders said incoherently. He was so anxious that he kept spinning on the ground. Look at you. Why were you so enthusiastic when you were watching the show? Now that you're in trouble, you want to be a coward? Humph. No way, Fengda said with disdain. Then what do you want? We're just a small family. The Yao family really can't afford to provoke us. The leader cried. I'll give you two choices. One is to die immediately without waiting for the Yao family to come. I'll send you on your way now. The other is to join forces with us to deal with the Yao family. Choose. Fengda said coldly. In fact, they did not care about the lives of these teams at all. It was not necessary to join forces with these people. The reason why they dragged these teams into the water was because they did not want these people to betray them. Chapter 973. The Depressed Yao Family 5. The leader was depressed. How was he supposed to choose? If they didn't join forces, they would die now. However, if they joined forces, they would probably not be a match for the Yao family even if they joined forces. After all, they had already returned to their families to find help. No matter what, Hungswa would still die. Then let's join forces. The leader said helplessly. Actually, the reason why he was so unconfident was mainly because he did not believe in the strength of Fengda and the others. After all, the Yao family was a huge existence in the God realm. They could not bite them. A wise man knows his place. Then inform your team members to be on guard. Well, stay here for the time being, Fengda reminded. Oh, okay, the leader replied. At this moment, he still felt unreal. They were about to become enemies with the Yao family. His heart trembled at the thought. However, he also knew that the Yao family would definitely not let them off. Even if they ran away now, they would probably bring disaster to the family. Therefore, they could only join forces. Then I'll go back first. Remember, don't look afraid. Otherwise, the Yao family will be suspicious. Fengda reminded him again. I understand. The leader said miserably. It was impossible not to be afraid. Fengda looked at the leader and sighed helplessly before turning to leave. 3 days later, Uncle Yao was puzzled when he saw that Fengda and the others had not left. Not only that, but the other teams also seemed to have made an appointment. No one left, which made him, who had always been cautious, suspicious. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. Calm with a heart full of questions, Uncle Yao came to Fengda and asked with a smile and a little curiosity. Why aren't you walking forward? With your strength, there's no danger in Phoenix Cry Mountain. The reason why he asked Fengda was that other than Fengda, no one else liked to talk to him. We're tired, so we want to rest here. Fengda said perfunctorily, but he was complaining in his heart. Uncle Yao, when are you going to catch us all? We've been waiting for a few days. Your Yao family's speed is not good. We're tired, so we want to rest here. Fengda said perfunctorily, but he was complaining in his heart. Uncle Yao, when are you going to catch us all? We've been waiting for a few days. Your Yao family's speed is not good. No, Fengda said flatly. I heard that there's a strange flower in the mountain stream of Phoenix Cry Mountain. It can cure all kinds of poisons and illnesses. Many people seem to have rushed there. If you stay there, the flower will be snatched away by others. Uncle Yao reminded them kindly. Oh, we're here to visit Phoenix Cry Mountain. We're not interested in those flowers. However, if you want to get those flowers, hurry up and go on your way. There won't be any at night. Fengda reminded him and thought to himself. Did this old fellow want them to go to the mountain stream? Could it be that he had set up an ambush there? No wonder there had been no movement. In fact, Feng Da's guess was not entirely correct. Uncle Yao did want them to go to the mountain stream, but he did not set up any ambush there because he was too confident in his family's strength. He had only arranged with his family to attack there and catch them all in one fell swoop. I'm only bringing the younger generation of the family to train. Let others snatch those flowers and grass. Uncle Yao said awkwardly. Then he felt that he was asking for trouble, so he turned around and left dejectedly. After Uncle Yao turned around and left, Feng Da went to complain to Lung Ruoxue. Miss, that old thing wanted to trick us into going to the mountain stream. I didn't fall for it. Feng Da said proudly. Are we going? Feng Da asked again. Actually, this was the main reason he came to look for Lung Ruoxue. After all, being tricked was different from taking the initiative. Since they've already spoken, wouldn't we be giving them no face if we don't go? However, we can't leave immediately. Well, stay for 2 days and go there the day after tomorrow. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and said, all right, I'll inform the others. After saying that, Feng Da turned around and left. After Feng Da left, the freak looked at Lung Ruoxue with sparkling eyes and said dotingly, Schwer, why are you so cute? Haha, how am I bad? I'm such a kind child. Don't slander me. Lung Ruoxue pretended to scold. I was wrong, Freak said. My Schwerer is the kindest child in the world. Please keep reading on MYB0X and 0VL. Come, yes, that's more like it. Lung Ruoxue said in satisfaction. Then she started eating the freak's tender tofu. 2 days later, just as Uncle Yao changed his plan, and planned to let his clansmen come to their camp to capture these people in one fell swoop, Lung Ruoxue and the others suddenly moved. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue and the others were about to walk out of their sight, Uncle Yao, who only reacted after a while, quickly ran forward and blocked their way. He panted and said, Where are you planning to go? He had already got his clansmen come here. How could these people leave? Uncle Yao was furious. No, he could not let them go. We planned to go to the mountain stream you mentioned. If we're lucky, we might be able to snatch the strange flower you mentioned. Feng Da explained with a smile. Seeing how anxious Uncle Yao was, he was already laughing in his heart. It's been a few days. I'm afraid that the flowers have already been obtained by others. It's useless for you to go. It's better not to waste time, Uncle Yao advised. You're wrong. If we didn't see for ourselves, how could we have given up? Feng Da sighed and said helplessly. It's really gone. Why would I lie to you? Uncle Yao said angrily. He was so anxious that cold sweat broke out on his forehead. That's hard to say. What if you want to keep it for yourself? Feng Da said with a look of disbelief, and the others did not believe him either. Miss, let's go. Feng Da said. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Then everyone ignored the Yao family's eldest uncle's resentful gaze and headed to their destination, the mountain stream of Phoenix Cry Mountain. As the Yao family's eldest uncle watched everyone leave, he was so angry that his face alternated between white and black. When the Yao family members rushed over to meet up with the Yao family's eldest uncle, they realized that there was no one else here except for the Yao family. The furious leader scolded the Yao family's eldest uncle again. Immediately, the Yao family members gathered together and headed towards the mountain stream. However, when they rushed to the mountain stream, they found it empty. Where are they? Didn't they come to the mountain stream? The leader of the Yao family roared angrily. Fuck. They had flown for several days before arriving at Phoenix Cry Mountain. They had wanted to quickly settle the matter and report back to the family, but who knew that after arriving at Phoenix Cry Mountain, they would be tortured here and there? They didn't even see the shadow of the enemy. This couldn't help but make him even angrier. Where are they? Didn't they come to the mountain stream? The leader of the Yao family roared angrily. Fuck. They had flown for several days before arriving at Phoenix Cry Mountain. They had wanted to quickly settle the matter and report back to the family, but who knew that after arriving at Phoenix Cry Mountain, they would be tortured here and there? They didn't even see the shadow of the enemy. This couldn't help but make him even angrier. I asked you a question. Didn't you say they came to the mountain stream? The leader looked at the Yao family's eldest uncle and questioned him. We're here. Maybe we're lost, Uncle Yao said with a careful smile. In fact, he was extremely depressed. Ooh. For the first time, he realized how difficult it was to get rid of an opponent. How could this be? He couldn't understand. Lost. Bullshit. Phoenix Cry Mountain is only a small place. I won't get lost even if I close my eyes. How can so many of them get lost? The leader was furious. He really couldn't figure out where those people had gone. Even though there was more than one way to get to the mountain stream, there was only one main road coming here, which was the one they had just walked on. Therefore, he was very sure that those people would not take the side road. That would be too illogical. However, Lung Ruoxue and the others' actions could not be considered as normal. Therefore, in fact, he had guessed correctly. This was because Lung Ruoxue and the others had indeed taken an extremely small path. Moreover, along the way, Lung Ruoxue and the others were still talking and laughing, as if they were really here to play in the mountains. They were not in a hurry to rush to the mountain stream at all. However, while they were not in a hurry, someone was. This road is too difficult. At this speed, how long will it take to reach the mountain stream? When they were almost a third of the way down the path, someone started complaining. Oh, I only found out today that someone is so eager to die, Fonda said calmly. Chapter 974. You're too smelly one. I didn't mean it that way, the man explained quietly, listening to Fonda. Oh, then what do you mean? Fonda raised his eyebrows slightly and asked with a faint smile. Even though he was smiling, the other party felt goosebumps all over. The man knew better than to say another word. All of you listen carefully. We will definitely go to the mountain stream. However, we are not in a hurry. If any of you are in a hurry, you can go first. However, if anyone wants to get cold feet, even if the Yao family does not destroy you, I will not let you off, Fonda said coldly. At this moment he was like a demon from hell, making people shiver. We want, and we're not in a hurry, one of the leaders quickly said. As soon as he finished speaking, the others echoed him. Oh my God! They had long known that they had boarded a pirate ship, so they had never thought that they would be able to get off. However, there were people who did not know what was good for them, and wanted to pluck the fur from the tiger's mouth. They did not even look at which of these people they could afford to provoke. The morale of the army and the hearts of the people cannot be scattered. If anyone says another word of nonsense, don't blame me for being merciless, Fonda threatened. We won't. The men in those teams promised quickly. That's good. Let's continue on our way. Keep your mouths shut. I don't have a good temper. Don't anger me because of something I said, Fonda warned. This path was indeed not easy to walk on. Not only was the path narrow, but it was also covered in vines and brambles. It was no wonder that these people, who were usually pampered, were not used to walking on it. However, they had to walk even if they were not used to it. Fonda could not help but think to himself. Everyone continued walking forward. No one dared to complain anymore along the way. When Fonda saw that his deterrence had worked, he was already laughing in his heart. This feeling of bullying was really good. Along the way, Lung Ruoxue and the others walked slowly. When they arrived at the mountain stream, it was already 2 days later. For the past 2 days, they had been walking and stopping. They were all in good spirits. However, Uncle Yao and the others, who were glaring at them not far away, were much more haggard than them. Eldest Uncle Yao and the others were dressed in messy and wrinkled clothes. Their faces were pale, and there were big dark circles under their eyes. However, their eyes were burning with hatred, as if they wanted to skin Lung Ruoxue and the others alive. In fact, the reason why they were so inhuman was mainly because the leader of the Yao family had scolded them when he had nothing to do for the past 2 days. They did not dare to retort, and could only endure it. The anger in their hearts also accumulated. As time passed, after seeing Lung Ruoxue and the others, they all surged up. Yo, what's wrong with the Yao family's uncle? It's only been 2 days since we last met. Could it be that he encountered some irresistible force that caused him to become like this? Fonda teased with a smile. Why did you only arrive now? Uncle Yao pointed at Fonda and the others, trembling with anger. Boo. Because of these people, he had been scolded so much in the past 2 days. However, look at their mental state, and look at his own. Sigh. How sad. This. I don't understand the Yao family's uncle. Our feet are on us. We can arrive whenever we want, right? It doesn't seem to be any of your business. Why are you so angry? Fonda said innocently. Well, I'm just afraid that if you arrive too late, that strange flower will be snatched away by someone else. Uncle Yao wiped the sweat off his forehead. Damn it, he was too impulsive. Oh, from what you're saying, the flowers are still there? Fonda asked with a smile. Of course it's here. If I hadn't been watching, the flowers would have been snatched away by someone else. Uncle Yao said with an expression that said, You guys have to thank me. It seems like we have to thank you properly, Fonda said seriously. There's no need to thank me. I still think I hit it off with you guys. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't let them watch. Uncle Yao immediately took advantage of the situation. Yes, there's fate between us. Where's the Yao family's uncle, that strange flower? Let me see it. Fonda chuckled. It's below the mountain stream. We have to go down to see it, the Yao uncle said. Their people were already lying in ambush below. As soon as these people went down, they would definitely kill them all. Oh, there's no hurry. It's getting late. Let's rest first and go down to take a look. Fonda deliberately thought for a moment before saying, It's getting late? It's not even noon yet. Uncle Yao roared angrily. He was even more furious. Fuck, what kind of person was this? He actually said that it was getting late during noon. It's getting late. We should take a nap, Fonda said matter-of-factly. You want to take an afternoon nap? Uncle Yao's eyes widened in disbelief. In all his life, he had never heard of anyone taking an afternoon nap. That's right. Fonda nodded with a smile. Are you guys going to sleep too? Uncle Yao was a little angry and pointed at the other teams that came with Lung Ruoxue and the others. Yes. The people in the teams nodded in unison. They did not dare to not sleep when this fiend said to sleep. Moreover, they were already used to Fonda's ability to lie through his teeth. However, they were quite impressed by Fonda. He could actually make this smiling tiger like Uncle Yao so angry that he stomped his feet. Sigh. This was also a skill. Thinking of this, they miraculously felt much better. After all, watching others suffer was better than them. Hee, the sun will be up soon. Everyone quickly set up the tent. Then, have a good rest after lunch. Fonda said loudly to everyone. Aye, the men said in unison, and set about setting up their own tents. After the tent was set up, everyone started to make a fire and cook. The entire set of movements was as smooth as flowing water, making Uncle Yao dumbfounded. Schwer, when are you going to the mountain stream to deal with those guys? The freak was hugging Schwer beside the fire, and asked curiously. Oh, the Yao family had probably waited long enough down there. Chapter 975. You're too smelly too. Anyway, I'm not in a hurry. Lung Ruoxue smiled evilly. Hee. If you're not anxious, someone is, Freak teased. They're anxious, well rest, Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. All right. As the 24 filial fiancé, the Freak naturally did whatever Schwer wanted. After Lung Ruoxue and the others finished eating, they went straight into the tent to take an afternoon nap. As for the angry Uncle Yao, he was ignored by everyone. Actually, Lung Ruoxue and the others weren't really taking a nap. They just didn't want Uncle Yao to get what he wanted. Why did they have to act according to the other party's plan? If they wanted to kill them, they had to follow their plan, and their plan was to delay. When the other party couldn't take it anymore and took the initiative to jump up, they would do it. They wouldn't foolishly run down the mountain stream and be at the mercy of others. However, the other party's intelligence was nothing much. They only knew how to wait for an opportunity. In fact, in Lung Ruoxue's opinion, they should take the initiative to attack and surprise her. Eldest Uncle Yao stood outside Lung Ruoxue and the other's tent. The anger in his heart kept rising, and his eyes glared fiercely at the tent, wishing he could glare through the tent of the people he hated the most. Unfortunately, the people inside the tent seemed to be enjoying the show. They chatted as they observed the situation outside through a small window that was open in the tent. Miss, could this Uncle Yao be furious? He's already so old, but he's still so angry. Lu Tao was a little speechless. Don't worry, he won't. That guy can take it. This blow is nothing, Lung Ruoxua said disapprovingly. Hee. I wonder how many days the people below the mountain stream can endure. It should be very cold down there. Feng De said with a wicked smile. It's definitely cold, but I'm more certain that they didn't bring much food, so we just have to stall for time. When they can't stand the hunger and jump up, it'll be time for us to take action. Lung Ruoxua said indifferently. Schwer, you're so bad. Whoever becomes your opponent will be unlucky. Empty sighed. I can't help it. I'm lazy. I always like to use the simplest methods to achieve the greatest effect, Lung Ruoxua said proudly. Actually, it was not necessary to fight to deal with a person, nor was it necessary to kill the other party to vent her anger. In fact, she felt that killing the enemy was too easy on the other party. Therefore, if she had to choose between killing or not, she would rather choose the latter. Sigh. Poor Yao family. Why did they have to provoke a little demon like you? Wu Qing teased. Who knows? I never like to cause trouble, but trouble always comes to me. Sigh. Lung Ruoxia's beautiful face was filled with helplessness and innocence. By the way, we won't leave the tent until tonight. Why don't I send you into the space? Lung Ruoxua said again. They couldn't possibly squeeze so many people into one tent. Miss, I'll stay outside. Feng De suggested. He had thrown the ape into another tent, so he had to prevent the monkey from running over to find him. All right, I'll bring them in then. Lung Ruoxua nodded and disappeared from the tent with everyone. Lung Ruoxua and the others only walked out of the tent in the evening. After they went out, they naturally cooked dinner. After dinner, Lung Ruoxua and the others wanted to sleep again. When Uncle Yao saw this, he quickly stopped them. Wait. Eldest Uncle Yao stopped Lung Ruoxua and the others. Uncle Yao, what's the matter? If there's nothing important, don't delay our sleep, Feng De said unhappily. Damn it, you still want to sleep? Aren't you going to see that strange flower? Uncle Yao widened his eyes and said resentfully. Damn it, were these people the reincarnation of pigs? Why weren't they eating or sleeping? He was so aggrieved. Because he had not eaten anything since noon. He was also hungry. With the Yao family's uncle watching over us, we're not in a hurry. We can take a look after we rest, Feng De said gratefully. Uncle Yao, you've worked hard. Feng De added. With that, Feng De was about to enter the tent with everyone when he was stopped again. Wait! Uncle Yao shouted again. Uncle Yao, calm down. I can hear you. There's no need to be so loud. Feng De was a little speechless. It seemed that this old man was really forced into a corner. He was becoming less and less like the calm and smiling wolf in sheep's clothing they had met earlier on. Don't you want to sleep? Why are you all hiding in the same tent? Uncle Yao roared angrily. In fact, he had wanted to ask this question at noon, but the other party did not give him a chance. Therefore, he had to ask the reason no matter what. Can't I? Feng De asked. Of course not. Men and women shouldn't be so close together. You have to pay attention to your reputation. Uncle Yao blurted out without thinking. Well, this reason was something he had thought of at the last minute. Uncle of the Yao family, you're thinking too much. This tent belongs to our young miss, so as her subordinates, we have the right to protect her safety. As for difference between men and women you mentioned, are you still a virgin? Feng De asked with a smile, his face filled with curiosity. What do you mean? Uncle Yao was confused. Wasn't he talking about them? Why was he involved? Since you pay so much attention to gender differences, you probably haven't entered a woman's room before. Feng De guessed with a smile. You am doing this for your own good. You have to pay attention to your reputation. Uncle Yao said earnestly. In fact, he mainly suspected that these people were using sleep as an excuse, and were secretly discussing some bad ideas. Therefore, he wanted to ask them clearly. However, who knew that this fellow would actually change the topic to him? It was really infuriating. Uncle Yao, do you think safety or reputation is the impact more important? Feng De asked instead of answering. Chapter 976. You're too smelly 3. This? Uncle Yao was at a loss for words. Even though he wanted to say that the impact was important, if he really said that, he wouldn't even be able to get past himself. In this world, there was nothing more important than his master's safety. Uncle Yao, I understand how you feel. My condolences. Feng De patted Uncle Yao's shoulder and comforted him. Then he gave everyone a look and they went straight into the tent. Condolences? Again. Damn it, no one in their Yao family had died, so why was he mourning? Uncle Yao was so angry that he stomped his feet. Unfortunately, the other party had already closed the tent tightly. No matter how angry he was outside, the people inside ignored him. For several days in a row, Lung Ruoxue and the others ate and slept. They woke up and ate again, not doing anything else. Moreover, not only them but the other teams also did the same, making Uncle Yao and the others almost go crazy. In the Yao family's tent, eldest Uncle Yao sat in the corner with a dark expression. Looking at his ugly expression, the younger members of the Yao family did not dare to speak. However, Yao Qianqian did not have that concern. Uncle, it's been almost a week. When will they go down the mountain stream? Yao Qianqian could not help but ask. Who should I ask? Uncle Yao snapped. Uncle, hurry them up. Yao Qianqian said anxiously. She had stayed here long enough. If she didn't want to see what would happen to them, she would have returned to the Yao family long ago. Hurry them? Who do you think I am? Will they listen to me? Uncle Yao was even angrier when he heard Yao Qianqian's words. What an ignorant brat. She only knew how to urge him to do this and that. Why didn't she think about it? If not for her, would these things have happened? What a troublemaker. Now he was extremely tired of his niece. Then what should we do? We can't wait forever. Yao Qianqian said gloomily. Whoever has the ability, go ahead and urge them. In any case, I don't have a choice. Uncle Yao looked like he had given up on himself. Now he didn't even dare to go down the mountain stream. Otherwise, he would be scolded again. I'll try, Yao Qianqian suddenly said confidently. All right, go. Uncle Yao said coldly without even looking up. Oh, go then. Yao Qian stood as if she were a fighter and went out of the tent, but before long, she returned alone crestfallen. How is it? Uncle Yao said knowingly. I didn't see anyone. I went to knock on the tent, but they actually pretended not to hear me. I'm so angry. Yao Qianqian growled angrily. In the next few days, when Lung Ruoxue and the others came out of the tent to eat, Yao Qianqian would approach them, wanting to find a chance to talk to them. Unfortunately, before she could talk, she would always feel uncomfortable in her stomach and had to relieve herself. When she came back after relieving herself, the person she wanted to talk to entered the tent again. This fact could not help but make her angry. Another few days passed. Lung Ruoxue and the others gathered in the garden in the bracelet. Miss, it's been half a month, but the other party is still quite tolerant, Feng De said in disbelief. At the same time, he didn't understand why the other party insisted on attacking under the mountain stream. If they didn't go down, the other party actually didn't know how to come up. Wasn't this a little too persistent? Calm down. If I'm not wrong, they should jump out in a day or two. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. Have you finished your preparations? Lung Ruoxue asked again. Hehe. Don't worry, miss. We're just waiting for the silly rabbit to take the bait, Feng De said with a smile. After all that, they were the ones waiting for the rabbit to bite. Feng De, go out and inform the other teams to be on high alert for the next 2 days, Lung Ruoxue instructed after some thought. Okay, Feng De replied. Then everyone discussed the details. They had to capture the other party in one fell swoop. Otherwise, it would be a disaster if even one of them escaped. The next day, when Lung Ruoxue and the others were enjoying their dinner, they suddenly felt several powerful pressures surging up from the bottom of the stream. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue and the others understood. The silly rabbit is coming. However, in contrast to their excitement, the other teams were a little terrified and uneasy. After all, the Yao family had always been a huge existence in their hearts that they could not shake. And what they were about to do now was called ant-biting an elephant. Of course they were ants. God damn it, who took a dump here? A roar entered Lung Ruoxue and the others' ears. When they heard it, they all laughed in unison. Haha. Feng De and the others laughed so hard that their stomachs hurt. Were these people from the Yao family here to be funny? Why was it that they were already eating shit as soon as they came up, before they even had the chance to show off their might? It was really too funny. Stop laughing. If you laugh, I'll kill you, someone said angrily. This person was none other than the leader of the Yao family. At this moment, he was standing in front of the Yao family's tent in a rage. His clothes were covered in sticky stuff, and he was emitting a foul smell. Clearly, he was the one who had trouble with the shit. Will you let us go if we don't laugh? Feng De asked curiously. Humph. You're all dead whether you laugh or not, the leader said. In his eyes, Feng De and the others were already dead. In that case, what does it matter if we laugh or not? The final outcome would be the same. Feng De shrugged and said indifferently, if you don't laugh, perhaps I can give you a quick death if I'm in a good mood. The leader said kindly. Thank you. By the way, didn't you want to know who took a dump? Feng De smiled evilly. Who is it? The leader asked angrily. If that shitter could forget about a quick death. It's your Yao family's third Miss Yao Qianqian. Feng De said in amusement. Hee. Was this called keeping the goodies within the family? Chapter 977. You're too smelly for? Nonsense. Don't slander me. Yao Qianqian immediately shouted after hearing Feng De's words. Her beautiful face was distorted with anger. Miss Yao, I'm not spouting nonsense. Have you forgotten that your stomach hasn't been well recently? That's why you have been relieving yourself nearby. Feng De reminded her. So it was you. The anger of the leader of the Yao family rose to its peak, and his cold eyes burned with anger. Old ancestor, it's not me. Don't listen to his nonsense. Yao Qianqian firmly denied it. Otherwise, this old ancestor would definitely not let her off. Ooh. Miss Yao, do you want me to take out the memory crystal and broadcast the location where you relieved yourself to prove that what I said is true? Feng De smiled evilly. You pervert, you actually. Yao Qianqian was so angry that she could not speak. Why? Are you feeling guilty, Miss Yao? Feng De chuckled. That's enough. All of you deserve to die. None of you can leave this place alive today. The leader of the Yao family roared. Then he turned around and stared at Yao Qianqian. I'll deal with you when we get back. Old ancestor. Yao Qianqian's beautiful eyes were filled with tears. She felt that her world was dark. Ooh. How could this be? Kid, you were the one who laughed the loudest just now. Let's start with you. The leader of the Yao family pointed at Feng De. Please keep reading on my box novel. Come, I won't fight you, Feng De refused, shaking his head. What? Are you afraid? The leader of the Yao family narrowed his eyes and said disdainfully. So he was a coward. I'm not afraid. You smell too bad. I'm afraid that it'll be stained with Miss Yao's shit, Feng De said angrily. Then he imitated the leader and sized him up with narrowed eyes. The man in front of him was about 50 years old. He was ordinary looking, not tall and slightly thin. However, he was much stronger than him, so he was not stupid. How could he fight with the other party? Damn it, die. The leader of the Yao family was completely furious after hearing Feng De's words. Then he attacked. A yellow bolt of lightning flew towards Feng De. It was extremely fast and instantly arrived in front of Feng De. Even though Feng De's face revealed a look of panic, his body slowly dodged it. Then, Feng De ran around the Yao family's tent. Moreover, as he ran, he muttered, "Don't kill me. I'm so scared." Damn it, stop right there. The leader of the Yao family was furious. He had fought countless battles with others, but he had never met such a shameless person. How could he attack? I'll lose face if I stop just because you tell me to. Besides, I'm not stupid. I won't stand there and let you hit me. Feng De replied as he ran. He did not forget to take a bite of the rabbit leg that he had been holding in his hand. The fragrance of the rabbit's leg blew into the nose of the leader of the Yao family, along with the breeze. The rich smell even covered the stench on his body. He, who was already muscular, was even hungrier when he smelled the fragrance. Just like that, Fonda ran in front while he chased after him. Moreover, just as he was about to catch up to Fonda pulled away. The leader of the Yao family was furious seeing this situation. Damn it, he didn't believe he couldn't catch an elementary god. If word got out, he'd have no face left on Divine Continent. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. He chased after Fonda faster and faster. However, as his speed increased, Fonda's speed increased. Unknowingly, he was brought away from the mountain stream by Fonda. Miss, should we attack? Chengwu asked softly when he could no longer see Fonda. Yes, let's do it. Lung Ruoxia nodded. Please keep reading on my box novel. Calm with Lung Ruoxia's order, everyone surrounded the Yao family. What do you want? Uncle Yao asked, pretending to be calm. For some reason, he felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what. Haha, the Yao family's uncle. Of course we have to do what you want to do to us. Chengwu reminded him with a naughty smile. How dare you? How dare you provoke our Yao family? The Yao family will not let you off. Uncle Yao threatened. In fact, he was very uneasy. He had a bad feeling. Uncle of the Yao family, let's change to a new term. This is too cliché. I'm tired of hearing it, Chengwu said. You, Uncle Yao was furious. You haven't said a complete sentence for a long time. Stop talking nonsense with them. Do it. Lung Ruoxia said impatiently. Sure. Everyone in Chengwu was excited to hear about a fight. Then they each found an opponent and started fighting. This time, in order to catch them all in one fell swoop, the Yao family had sent nearly 200 people. Therefore, after they added the other teams to fight each other, the additional people naturally belonged to Lung Ruoxia and the freak. Catch this woman first and leave the man to me, Yao Qianqian said. Yao Qianqian and dozens of Yao family members surrounded Lung Ruoxia and the freak. Moreover, in their eyes, the two people trapped in the middle were already meat on their chopping board, so they naturally had to let them slaughter them. Freak, did you hear that? Lung Ruoxia asked with a light smile. Yes, leave these people to me. Rest, Freak said considerately. I'm not tired. I want to meet Miss Yao personally. Lung Ruo smiled, but when she looked at Yao Qianqian, the smile in her eyes turned cold. All right, I'll leave Yao Qianqian to you. I'll deal with the others, the freak said dotingly. Yes. Lung Ruoxia nodded. In an instant, the freak's figure was as fast as lightning. Before the other party could react, he was already in front of him. Black divine power was released from his hand. In a few breaths, the Yao family members surrounding him and Schwer were tied up like dumplings. Chapter 978. You're too smelly 5. Immediately after, the sound of fists hitting flesh suddenly sounded. Chengwu and the others, who were fighting with their opponents, knew that Commander Yi was beating them up again. This also motivated their fighting spirit. Therefore, it didn't take long for them to imitate the demon and start beating him up. After watching the battle between the freak and Chengwu, Lung Ruoxia turned her gaze to Yao Qianqian, who was also dumbfounded. Miss Yao, it's our turn now, Lung Ruoxia said with a light smile. To be honest, she didn't plan to attack the Yao family. Unfortunately, not only did they not appreciate her kindness, but they even set a trap for them. In that case, if she didn't help them, wouldn't it be unsatisfactory? Therefore, she could only force herself. You're not my match, Yao Qianqian said arrogantly. In her eyes, Lung Ruoxia was only a mystic god, so she didn't take her seriously at all. Miss Yao, rank doesn't mean everything. Look at your Yao family. Most of them are stronger than my subordinates, but do they have any advantage? Lung Ruoxia said calmly. That doesn't mean anything. You and your subordinates won't be smug for long. Yao Qianqian said disapprovingly. After all, she was still very confident in the strength of her clansmen. Looks like Miss Yao is the type who holds out hope until faced with grim reality. In that case, let's talk with our strength. Lung Ruoxia didn't waste her breath and directly attacked. Fire Dragon Dance. As soon as Lung Ruoxia finished speaking, a fire dragon more than 100 meters long and thicker than a bucket flickered with a dazzling red light and pounced at Yao Qianqian. Liar! This can't be the dance of the fire dragons. Yao Qianqian looked at the huge fire dragon in disbelief. In fact, the reason why she liked to wear red clothes was not only because she was eye-catching, but also because she had the fire attribute. Therefore, she could use the fire dragon dance. However, her fire dragon looked malnourished compared to this fire dragon. Whatever. Lung Ruoxue couldn't be bothered with her. Please keep reading on my box novel. Calm while they were talking, Lung Ruoxue's fire dragon had already flown in front of Yao Qianqian. Caught off guard, Yao Qianqian could not react in time, and was surrounded by the fire dragon. A few seconds later, the fire dragon left leisurely. The clothes on Yao Qianqian's body were also melted by the high temperature of the fire dragon. A charred woman appeared in front of everyone immediately. Ah! Yao Qian's scream came again, deafening everyone. What's there to scream about? Lung Ruoxue was a little speechless. The fire dragon that was deliberately teasing Yao Qianqian also flew back to its master's side, looking for comfort. What's there to scream about? Lung Ruoxue was a little speechless. The fire dragon that was deliberately teasing Yao Qianqian also flew back to its master's side, looking for comfort. Miss Yao, it's only a divine dragon. You actually scolded it. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh, attracted by the sharp cry. The people who had already ended the battle turned their gazes to them. Those who hadn't ended couldn't help but pause. That pervert is you, Yao Qianqian said hatefully. At this moment, her gaze towards Lung Ruoxue was filled with undisguised hatred. Miss Yao, we're all women. What do you have that I don't have? Do you think I'm interested in your body? Lung Ruoxue mocked. Alas, Yao Qianqian's princess illness was really serious. Did she really think that everyone wanted to see her red body? Otherwise, why did you let that fire dragon burn my clothes? Yao Qianqian looked at the fire dragon flying above Lung Ruoxue and was furious. I don't have that ability. This was just an accident. Besides, if I ordered it, I definitely wouldn't let it only burn your clothes. Speaking of which, my fire dragon knows how to take care of women. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. As soon as Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, the fire dragon circling above Lung Ruoxue actually cooperated and nodded its huge dragon head. Then, it flew towards Yao Qianqian. Ah! You pervert! Stay away from me! Yao Qianqian shouted. She was so agitated that she forgot to fight back. As the flames filled the sky, Yao Qianqian's voice became weaker and weaker. After a long time, the fire dragon, which had finally completed its mission, dissipated into thin air, leaving not even a speck of ashes on the ground. By now everyone had finished fighting. Other than Lung Ruoxue and the others who were still as calm as before, the other teams were all in disbelief. Did they win? It was really unbelievable. They actually ate the elephant. Please keep reading on my box novel. Calm after being stunned for a long time, the other teams finally reacted and cheered. By the time they finished cheering, Cheng Wu and the others had already cleaned up the battlefield. These are your spoils of war, Cheng Wu said as he handed the rings to the leaders of the teams. Ah, no need. You don't have to give it to us. Actually, we didn't do much. One of the leaders said in embarrassment. That's putting in the effort, right? Take it. This is your small treasury. Don't let anyone know. Cheng Wu reminded them. In fact, in addition to looking down on these things, they had distributed these spoils to these teams to shut them up in case they accidentally let it out. However, although they didn't think much of the things in the rings, they were considered good things to the people in these teams. In that case, we'll take it, another leader said. He wasn't stupid. He knew everyone was in the same boat now, so it was impossible for anyone to get away. In that case, why not? That's right. We've all suffered together, so we naturally have to share our blessings. Yes. Yes. Everyone nodded. At that moment, a cry for help sounded in their ears. Help! It stinks! As soon as Feng De shouted, he arrived. Behind him was naturally the smelly leader of the Yao family. Damn it, where are you going? I have to catch you. The leader of the Yao family shouted as he ran. Seeing this, everyone could not help but cover their noses and move aside to make way. However, at this moment, they were all in the mood to watch a good show. After all, this was the only person the Yao family had sent to silence them. Naturally, they were not afraid. Come and catch me. Catch up with me first. Fonda said provocatively. Hee. When Miss sent him a voice transmission to tell him that he could come back, he knew that it was over. If you have the guts, don't run. The leader of the Yao family said angrily. All right, I won't run anymore. I'm tired after running for so long. Fonda deliberately stood in front of the Yao family's tent and kept a distance from the smelly man. Are you really not going to run? I warn you not to play any tricks. The leader of the Yao family said cautiously. He had no choice. The other party was too cunning. He was no match for them. No. Where did your Yao family go? Fonda pretended to be surprised. Hearing Fonda's words, the Yao family's team started looking around. After searching, they really did not find anyone from the Yao family. Damn it, where the hell are those guys? The leader cursed angrily. They abandoned you and left first, Lung Ruoxia said with a faint smile. Left? How long? The leader asked foolishly. He thought that the other party had returned to the Yao family. Therefore he was very angry. These lazy bastards had left without completing their mission. Let's see how he deals with them when he gets back. But even as he thought about it, he didn't know that he had no chance of going back. He just left. He should be able to catch up now, Lung Ruoxia reminded. Oh, kid, wait for me. I'll deal with you when I find my clansmen. The leader said fiercely to Fonda, let me help you. Fonda suggested with a smile. Yes, we will also help you. Chung Wu and the others echoed. How do you want to help me? The leader was puzzled. Of course I'm sending you on your way. Fonda smiled evilly and immediately released several light blue divine powers. The others followed suit. In an instant, colorful divine power danced in the air. In the blink of an eye, it tightly entangled the leader of the Yao family. He did not even have the time to resist, let alone leave any words behind before disappearing from this world. Chapter 979. Flame City, 1. When the teams present saw that the Yao family had been completely wiped out, they were all very happy. However, they started to worry. After hesitating for a moment, someone asked, does the Yao family know that we did this? Unless you reveal your identity to the Yao family, they probably won't know, Lung Ruoxia said calmly. No. Absolutely not. Several teams hurriedly expressed their stance. Everyone had just met by chance, so how could they easily tell others their true identities? That's good. Now that the matter is over, we can part ways. However, there are some things I have to remind you of. This matter is considered a secret between us. It won't do anyone any good to tell anyone, so keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, bear the consequences. Lung Ruoxia half reminded and half warned. We won't tell anyone. Please don't worry, the leaders promised. They weren't stupid. If word got out, their families would be doomed. So, of course, they wouldn't say anything. Of course, I'm not worried about you. It's mainly the juniors of your families. Lung Ruoxia made it clearer. Don't worry, we'll remind them, the leaders said. Okay, then we'll take our leave. With that, Lung Ruoxia led everyone in the opposite direction. After walking out of the sight of those teams, Fonda asked softly, Miss, are we still going around in the mountains? No, let's go back to the First Alliance first. We've brought the former Alliance Master's son out for so many days. I'm afraid the former Alliance Master is so anxious that he's about to get angry. Lung Ruoxia teased with a light smile. Please keep reading on my box novel. What about this kid? Fonda pointed at the ape on his shoulder. He had knocked the ape out before the Yao family appeared. Let him eat this. His mouth isn't tight. It's better to let him forget it. Lung Ruoxia thought for a moment, and took out a pill and handed it to Fonda. Okay. Fonda nodded, then took the pill and stuffed it into the Yuan Ho's mouth. Not long after, Yuan Ho slowly woke up. However, the first thing he asked when he woke up was, Have you found the bad guy who robbed me? Clearly, he didn't remember anything that happened after that. No, we've been here for more than half a month, but we haven't seen the team you mentioned, Fonda said helplessly. Then what should we do? What? It's been more than half a month? Yuan Ho shouted belatedly. Of course we're going back. If we don't go back, your father will think that you're missing. Fonda chuckled. Let's go back. Yuan Ho said weakly. Well, let's go. By the way, where's your bald eagle? His feathers should have grown out. Fonda suppressed his laughter. Yes. Yuan Ho nodded awkwardly. In fact, its feathers had grown longer, but they were still very short. That's good. Let's go back. Fonda patted Yuan Ho's shoulder and said comfortingly. Lung Ruoxue took out the little peacock. After everyone sat on it, there was no place for Yuan Ho, so he could only reluctantly take out its black eagle that had yet to grow fur. Ah, beauty. We meet again. I really missed you to death. Unfortunately, Master refused to let me out. Boo-hoo, Black Egg, which had just left the beast's space, cried like a ghost. It was really heartbreaking for those who heard it, and those who saw it cried. Lung Ruoxue and the others were speechless and sighed. They didn't know what to say. Black Egg, don't embarrass yourself. Yuan Ho frowned. Even though he had done many embarrassing things, he had never been as embarrassed as Black Egg. Ow! The Black Egg let out a wolf howl, which immediately attracted all the wolves in Phoenix Cry Mountain. The sound rose and fell, and it was very rhythmic. Lung Ruoxue and the others looked at the top-grade Black Egg, and the speechlessness in their hearts deepened. Sigh. This was really a match made in heaven. Now everyone unanimously agreed that this man and beast were a perfect match. Little Peacock, let's go. Lung Ruoxue shook her head helplessly and instructed. Please keep reading on my box novel. Come, yes, master. The little peacock flapped its wings and flew away from Phoenix Cry Mountain. Beauty. Wait for me. Seeing this, Black Egg hurriedly wanted to chase after her, but was stopped by his master. Master, don't hold me back. I'm going after Beauty, the Black Egg said anxiously. It had not seen Beauty in a long time. Damn it, do you only have your beauty in your eyes? Do you still have me as your master? Master hasn't even sat on it. Do you want to abandon him and fly away alone? You dead beast that forgets your master when you see a woman. Yuan Ho cursed resentfully. Master is the same. Black Egg muttered, feeling extremely aggrieved. I beg your pardon? Bellowed Yuan Ho. And nothing. Master, come and sit on it. The Black Egg urged fearfully. Behave yourself, or the peacock won't be the one plucking your fur next time. Yuan Ho warned. Then he sat on the Black Egg's back. After sitting on it, he couldn't help but secretly grumble. It was still more comfortable to sit on a hairless Black Egg. It was meaty. Yes, master. Black Egg's apology was sincere, but there was something crude about the way it moved. With a whoosh, it flew into the sky and chased after the little peacock. Beauty. Wait for me. Black Egg shouted as it accelerated. However, because it had too few feathers, no matter how fast it moved, it could not catch up with the little peacock. The next day. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue and the others had already arrived at the Ascender Alliance. However, they did not enter the city, but stayed outside the city gate to wait for the apes. After waiting for a while, it was almost noon, but Yuan Ho still had not arrived. Miss, did something happen to Yuan Ho? Should I go look for it? Fonda said worriedly. Unfortunately, he was not worried about Yuan Ho's safety, but God forbid anything should happen to him and ruin their plan. Chapter 980 Flame City 2, Don't worry. It's very safe along the way. It must be because that damn eagle has too few feathers, so it flew a little slower. The little peacock said with great certainty. Hee. It was so happy to not be harassed by beasts along the way. Yes, wait a little longer. They should be here soon. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. Beauty. Wait for me. As soon as Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, Black Egg's voice came from afar. Before long, the man and eagle finally arrived. Beauty. Did you miss me? Black Egg quickly asked as soon as he landed in front of Lung Ruoxue and the others, as if he was afraid that the little peacock would forget him. You tell me. Peacock shot back. You definitely did, Black Egg said with certainty. The smug expression on his face was as annoying as it could get. Yes, I want to beat you up, the little peacock said with a faint smile. Fighting is affection and scolding is love. Hee. Beauty come. Black Egg said excitedly. After saying that, he ignored his master, who was still sitting on his back, and prepared to lie down and let the little peacock do whatever she wanted. Yuan Ho, who had almost fallen, quickly climbed down from the Black Eagle's back and pointed at the Black Egg. However, he was so angry that he could not say a complete sentence. Alright, stop fooling around. Let's enter the city. Lung Ruoxue said speechlessly. Sigh. She was helpless against this Black Eagle. Moreover, she couldn't understand why this Black Eagle looked like a little peacock. Yes. Yuan Ho nodded obediently, then glared at the Black Egg. Let's go. Lung Ruoxue said and walked in front without looking back. As soon as he returned to the territory of the First Alliance, the guards patrolling the city discovered traces of Yuan Ho and immediately reported it to the Alliance leader. A moment later, Yuan Biao ran up to them while panting and scolded the ape. However, he was smiling when facing Lung Ruoxue and the others. Miss Ning, you're finally back. I don't know where you went either. I was so anxious. Yuan Biao said in embarrassment. Actually, he was mainly worried about his son, but he had to show appropriate concern for Lung Ruoxue and the others. I'm sorry, Alliance Master Yuan. We went to Phoenix Cry Mountain. We didn't have time to inform you because we left in a hurry, Lung Ruoxue said apologetically. I can understand that. But why did you go to Phoenix Cry Mountain? It's a distance from here. Yuan Biao asked in confusion. Young Master Yuan asked me out to shop, but there's really nothing to shop on this street, so we went to Phoenix Cry Mountain. Lung Ruoxue explained with a smile. Oh, I see, Yuan Biao said knowingly. Then he glared at his son. Father, there are indeed many baddies in Phoenix Cry Mountain. Your son was robbed, and you almost lost your precious son forever. You have to avenge me. Yuan Ho complained suddenly. What? Who robbed you? Fucking guts. Yuan Biao was furious when he heard this. Fuck. How dare someone rob his precious son? Did he want to die? I don't know them, but I've memorized their faces, Yuan Ho said with absolute certainty. Oh. Then tell father in detail later. Let's return to the First Alliance now. Yuan Biao thought for a moment and said. Yes, Miss Ning, let's go. Yuan Ho said fawningly. Let's go. Lung Ruoxue forced a smile and cooperated. After arriving at the First Alliance, Lung Ruoxue and the others directly returned to the Falling Swallow dwelling. While Yuan Ho continued to complain to Yuan Biao about how he had been robbed, the next day, Lung Ruoxue personally went to look for Yuan Biao and offered to see Lung Xiaoyu again. She promised that if Lung Xiaoyu still insisted on her conditions this time, she would give up. After Yuan Biao heard this, he immediately agreed to Lung Ruoxue's request without thinking and agreed to bring her to see Lung Xiaoyu in the afternoon. At the agreed time, Yuan Biao personally came to the Falling Swallow dwelling and brought Lung Ruoxue and the freak to the secret room. The three of them entered together after opening the chamber door, but were surprised to find the inner chamber empty. Alliance Master Yuan, where's Lung Xiaoyu? Lung Ruoxue asked in surprise, her beautiful face full of question marks. He might have gone to relieve himself. Even though Lung Xiaoyu made a mistake, we can't deprive her of her human rights, right? Yuan Biao explained awkwardly. Miss Ning, please wait for a moment. I'll go look for her, Yuan Biao said again. Then he went to the toilet to look for her. After some time, Yuan Biao returned to the inner room with a dark expression. Alliance Master Yuan, what's wrong with you? Is Lung Xiaoyu angry with you again? Lung Ruoxue secretly laughed in her heart, but she still had to pretend to be puzzled and ask with concern. Sigh. Lung Xiaoyu probably ran away. Yuan Biao sighed heavily and said very angrily. Escape? How is that possible? The First Alliance is heavily guarded. No matter how capable Lung Xiaoyu is, she probably won't be able to escape. Lung Ruoxue said in disbelief. If I'm not wrong, he should have been saved by his master. Miss Ning, you might not know this, but blacksmiths usually have some unknown secret methods. Otherwise, their status wouldn't be so high. Yuan Biao explained with a vexed expression. Then what should we do now? Lung Ruoxue seemed to have no idea, but she couldn't help but feel anxious in her heart. It wasn't that there weren't blacksmiths and alchemists with high statuses, but there were very few of them. Other than the blacksmiths and alchemists who belonged to the two large guilds that were relatively freer, the alchemists and blacksmiths who belonged to the various large factions basically had to listen to the arrangements of the factions they belonged to. Otherwise, they wouldn't provide you with materials. Miss Ning, I can't help you with this matter. I'm sorry, Yuan Biao said apologetically. Sigh. Since they had already offended the Artificer Association, they could not offend the Ning family again. Otherwise, their Ascender alliance would be attacked on both sides. Chapter 981 Flame City 3, It's okay. I know that the Alliance Master Yuan has tried his best. I'll report the truth to father when I get home, Lung Ruoxua said with a light smile. Miss Ning is too polite. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to help you in the end. I'm really sorry. Yuan Biao was very satisfied with Lung Ruoxia's words and said politely. The two of them praised each other for a while before Lung Ruoxua and the freak returned to the falling dwelling. After staying in the First Alliance for 2 days, Lung Ruoxua and the others got up and bade farewell. However, in a casual chat with Yuan Biao before she left, Lung Ruoxua accidentally revealed that her father had recently become obsessed with refining weapons and pills. He seemed to be collecting materials, so that night, she received a gift from Yuan Biao for her father. After Lung Ruoxua and the others left the Ascender Alliance, they flew straight to Flame City. Flame City, as its name suggested, was a place with abnormally rich fire attributes. That was also the headquarters of the Blacksmith Guild in the Divine Continent. Therefore, many blacksmiths rushed to Flame City every day. At this moment, there was also the artifact refining competition held by the Blacksmith Guild once every 100 years. In particular, this year's competition was hosted by one of the two great artifact gods of the God Realm, Mo Yen. The attractiveness of an idol naturally could not be underestimated. Therefore, there were more artifact masters heading to Flame City this year than every other year. On the way to Flame City, the disheveled old man kept looking at the ring in his hand and couldn't stop smiling. Hee hee. These were all top-grade refining materials. There were even more secret metals and mithril. And the things in this ring were the gifts that Yuan Biao had given to curry favor with the Ning family. Now they had benefited. Look at how useless you are. The old man did not like to see the disheveled old man so smug. He could not help but mock. Boo. Why did he not know how to refine pills and weapons? Hee hee. I'm in a good mood and can't be bothered to argue with you, the disheveled old man said calmly. He knew that this old man was envious, jealous, and hateful. Humph, the old man snorted, turning away from the smug old man. Girl, this Ascender Alliance is so rich. The little old man kept looking at the ring in his hand and said happily, Okay. Lung Ruoxua nodded calmly, feeling very helpless in her heart. Alas, these two old men were too restless. However, that Yuan Biao was quite good at pleasing her, causing her to feel a little embarrassed even if she wanted to give Yuan Biao a big gift. After all, it was a small matter to receive help. However, a small crime was inevitable. Little Shuer, when we reach Flame City, I'll introduce my master to you. Lung Xiaoyu chuckled. Not interested, Lung Ruoxua said lightly. Little Shuer, can't you give me some face? Lung Xiaoyu said with an aggrieved expression. In fact, he just wanted to show off that he had such an outstanding descendant. Unfortunately, little Shuer refused to give him this chance. Boo. No, Lung Ruoxua said decisively, but she was laughing in her heart. For some reason, she liked to see this cheap ancestor holding back recently, so she wanted to tease him when she had nothing to do. It seemed that her bad taste wasn't too good. Little Shuer, Lung Xiaoyu begged. The weather is really good today, Lung Ruoxua said indifferently. Then, she turned her head and ignored Lung Xiaoyu's pitiful act. Everyone chatted and laughed along the way. After flying for almost a week, they finally arrived at Flame City. As they approached Flame City, Lung Ruoxua and the others felt a fire attribute spiritual energy rush towards them. And the temperature here was obviously much higher than elsewhere. Miss, it's so hot here. Fonda couldn't take it anymore. His clothes were almost drenched. Yes, the fire attribute spiritual energy here is very dense. It's normal to be hot, Lung Ruoxua said in understanding. No wonder the Weapon Refinement Guild treated this place as their headquarters in the Divine Continent. This place was indeed very suitable. Haha. You'll get used to it. Moreover, ordinary cultivators can't enter Flame City unless there's an artifact refiner or alchemist leading them, Lung Xiaoyu explained with a smile. Flame City was important to the Weapon Refinement Guild, and it was no less important than the 8 great clans attached importance to their divine realm. Moreover, because of Flame City's uniqueness, other than artifact refiners and alchemists, ordinary cultivators were generally not welcome here, even if they were from the 8 great clans. Why? Fengda asked in confusion. Because this is the Artificer Association's headquarters in the Divine Continent. If it were you, would you welcome strangers to your house? Moreover, anyone who is qualified to settle down in Flame City is supported by the Artificer Association. Other blacksmiths are also not qualified to stay here for a long time, Lung Xiaoyu explained. Does the cheap sake old ancestor have a place to stay here? Lung Ruoxia asked lightly. As far as she knew, this cheap ancestor didn't seem to belong to the Artificer Association. However, his master was the vice president of the Artificer Association. Little Schwer guess, Lung Xiaoyu said mysteriously. I want guess, Lung Ruoxia said without giving him face. Then she secretly laughed in her heart. I have a place to stay here, but I've only stayed here a few times, Lung Xiaoyu said helplessly. Boo. Why wasn't Little Schwer willing to cooperate with him? That means we can enter, Chuizhu said happily. She was quite curious about everything here since she had just arrived in the Divine Continent. If the cheap sake old ancestor can't bring us into Flame City, then no one can bring us in. Lung Ruoxia teased with a light smile. Yes, don't worry. I'll bring you all in, Lung Xiaoyu promised. After Lung Xiaoyu promised, Lung Ruoxia instructed the little peacock to land near the city gate. After everyone jumped off the little peacock's back, they walked towards the city gate together. Lung Ruoxia and the others were stopped by the guards at the city gate. This is my artificer certificate. They're all with me. Lung Xiaoyu took out a red token and said to the guard. You can go in, but they can't. The guard glanced at the sign and said to Lung Xiaoyu. Why? Lung Xiaoyu asked in confusion. When did Flame City change its rules? Why didn't he know? Chapter 982 Flame City 4. There are too many of them, you cannot bring them in. The guard said very seriously. What kind of logic is that? Lung Ruoxia chuckled, but her beautiful eyes emitted waves of coldness. This was the first time she had heard that people were not allowed to enter the city because she had too many people with her. The rules of Flame City were indeed different. That's right. Why we enter? It's not my first time here. When did the rules of Flame City change? Lung Qianya asked mockingly. That's the new rule. There are already a lot of people in the city, so we have to control the number of people entering the city, the guard said in a Business-like manner. Who set this rule? Lung Xiaoyu asked unhappily. Damn it, wasn't this trying to provoke conflict? He knew very well that if not for him, Little Schwer and the others would have beaten the guard up without hesitation. The president, of course, the guard said righteously. Which president? Lung Xiaoyu demanded. Aren't you an artificer? How can you not know who is the president? The guard retorted. All right, the president, right? Oh, go find him. Lung Xiaoyu said angrily. You can go to him, but these men cannot enter the city without the president's permission, the guard said stubbornly. Cheap sake old ancestor, in that case we won't force you. You can go in first. However, if that president doesn't invite us personally, I won't enter Flame City. Suddenly, Lung Ruoxia's cold voice floated into Lung Xiaoyu and the guard's ears. Still, it was more for the guard's ears than anything else, because she'd seen the guard let another team, no less numerous than their own, into Flame City before they did. The difference in treatment naturally infuriated her. All right, then wait for me here for a while. I'll be back soon. Lung Xiaoyu naturally understood what Little Schwer meant. He strode into Flame City after looking at the guard with a faint smile. Miss, what should we do? Fengda asked softly when he saw Lung Xiaoyu enter the city. Do as you see fit. Lung Ruoxue smiled evilly. Yes. Feng De nodded. Then he gave Lin Yuan and the others a look. Everyone attacked together and dragged the 2 guards at the door to a corner. After beating them up, most of their anger dissipated. Lung Ruoxue smiled at the guard who walked out from the corner with a swollen face and asked with concern, "Brother guard, what's wrong?" "And nothing," the 2 guards said fearfully. "Boo-hoo, these people were so savage and savage." "Did you fall?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. "Yes, yes." The 2 guards nodded vigorously. They didn't dare say otherwise, for fear that these people would beat them up again if they were upset. "You guys are too careless. Be careful when you walk next time," Lung Ruoxue reminded. What she meant was that they shouldn't be so blind and look down on others next time. Aye. The guard nodded quickly and returned to his post, but the peculiar looks of the men entering the city made them uncomfortable. Ooh. Even though they were only guards of the Flame City, because of the special nature of the Flame City, they had always gotten whatever they wanted. Anyone who wanted to enter the city had to curry favor with them. However, these people actually dared to beat them up. Just wait and see. If there was a chance, they would definitely report them to the president. The 2 guards thought to themselves, "Miss, are we really waiting here?" Chengwu casually glanced at the 2 guards at the door and asked curiously. He believed that if they entered the city now, these 2 bullies would not dare to stop them. "Of course, we have to give our ancestors some face." Lung Ruoxue smiled calmly. After saying that, she took out a recliner from her bracelet and sat down. Seeing this, the others also followed suit and sat at the city gate. Moreover, because of their relationship, the 2 guards did not dare to let anyone enter the city when they encountered a large group. Therefore, in a short while there were complaints at the city gate. Is everyone not allowed to enter the city because there are many people? At this moment, a handsome young man walked up to Lung Ruoxue and the others and asked politely, "That's right. However, several teams went in before us. We saw it with our own eyes, but when it came to us, they suddenly stopped." Feng De looked at the city guard and complained. "Oh." The young man nodded, but didn't comment. He bowed slightly and returned to his group. Other than the young man, the other teams outside the city naturally also heard Feng De's words. However, their tempers were clearly not as good as the young man's. After knowing this, they dragged the 2 guards guarding the city to a corner. Chapter 983. The House That Changed Hands 1. As for what they had done, everyone naturally had a tacit understanding. When the 2 guards limped out of the corner, covered in injuries, everyone present acted as if nothing had happened. They did what they were supposed to do. The 2 guards returned to the city gate and stood there with fear on their faces. Their eyes were still staring at everyone present with abnormal vigilance, afraid that they would beat them up again if they were unhappy. At the same time, Lung Xiaoyu went straight to the Artificer Association. After arriving at the Artificer Association, he took out his identity as an artificer and asked to see the president. However, the in charge of receiving him actually refused when he saw that he only held a red token that represented his identity as an ordinary artificer. In the association hall, Lung Xiaoyu glared at the waiter standing opposite him and said coldly, "Say that again?" "No means no. Our president isn't someone any Tom, Dick, or Harry can meet." The in-charge said with his nose in the air. He had seen many ordinary artificers like this every day. If everyone saw the president would die of exhaustion. "Are you calling me a Tom, Dick, and Harry?" Lung Xiaoyu narrowed his eyes. A dangerous aura appeared in them. However, the proud and arrogant in-charge did not notice it. "It's good that you know your place," the in-charge said condescendingly. "Haha. It seems that I haven't been to Flame City for too long. I didn't know that Fu Ran actually raised you snobs." Lung Xiaoyu laughed angrily. The Fu Ran he was talking about was the president of the Artificer Association headquarters of the Divine Continent. The 2 of them could be considered friends. However, what Lung Xiaoyu did not expect was why Fu Ran was different from what he knew after not seeing her for many years. At least as far as he could remember, Fu Ran would never allow the staff of the guild to look down on any artifact master. "Who is Fu Ran?" "I don't know him." The in-charge chuckled. You don't even know your own president? Lung Xiaoyu asked calmly. However, he was a little surprised. Could it be that something had happened in the Artificer Association that he didn't know about? Our president's name is not Fu Ran, the in-charge said with his chin high and a smug expression. Then who is the current president of the Flame City's Artificer Association? Lung Xiaoyu probed. Our president is His Excellency Yao Yuan, the in-charge said very proudly. Yao Yuan. Lung Xiaoyu's pupils constricted and he subconsciously clenched his fists. He didn't expect the president of the Artificer Association in Flame City to be that despicable person. How dare you call the president by his name? I think you don't want to live anymore. The waiter roared angrily after hearing Lung Xiaoyu's words. As a member of the Artificer Association, he must firmly protect the president's authority. Take me to see Yao Yuan. Lung Xiaoyu directly grabbed the in-charge's collar and ordered. You. How dare you treat me like this? Someone attacked the Artificer Association. The waiter was so frightened that he hurriedly shouted at the top of his lungs. After he shouted, a group of people immediately surged out from all directions and surrounded Lung Xiaoyu. Who is so bold as to attack the Artificer Association? You really don't want to live anymore. The guard roared angrily. There were more people entering Flame City than usual now, and their workload had increased drastically. However, there were actually still people who dared to cause trouble in the Artificer Association. Wasn't this like plucking fur from a tiger's butt? Captain Zhao doesn't even recognize me? Lung Xiaoyu looked at the person who spoke with a faint smile, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Your Excellency Lung Xiaoyu. Captain Zhao's eyes widened in disbelief. Didn't he hear that Lung Xiaoyu had returned to the boundless heaven continent? Why did he appear on the divine continent again? Finally, someone remembers me. Lung Xiaoyu said mockingly. He thought that all of Artificer Association was already Yao Yuan's people. He didn't expect to see someone he knew. It was really not easy. Your Excellency Lung Xiaoyu. Didn't you return to the boundless heaven continent? Why are you here? Captain Zhao was very curious, so he accidentally asked what was on his mind. Can't I come back after returning to the boundless heaven continent? Or does someone not want me to come back? Lung Xiaoyu said with a faint smile. Your Excellency Lung Xiaoyu really likes to joke. Captain Zhao laughed dryly and awkwardly. Does Captain Zhao just got to know me today? Am I someone who likes to joke? Lung Xiaoyu asked calmly. Captain Zhao felt a headache coming on as he faced Lung Xiaoyu. Sigh. He couldn't afford to offend this master. What kind of eyesight did this in charge have? He actually didn't even know the famous Lung Xiaoyu. Damn it. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but glare fiercely at the in-charge. At this moment, the in-charge was already scared silly by Lung Xiaoyu. I want to see Yao Yuan, Lung Xiaoyu said to Captain Zhao without even looking at the small in-charge. Your Excellency Lung Xiaoyu, President Yao is in a meeting. His Excellency Mo Yin is also here, Captain Zhao said honestly. At the same time, he couldn't help but grumble in his heart. You cannot give Yao Yuan face, but you do have to give your master face. Therefore, he didn't think that Lung Xiaoyu would barge into the meeting room. Is that so? Then I'll go up and find him myself, Lung Xiaoyu said disapprovingly. After saying that, he walked past the guards who did not dare to stop him and went straight upstairs. Even though he had not been here for many years, he was once very familiar with this place. Therefore, he did not need anyone to lead the way. He found the location of the meeting room with his eyes closed. The conference room was on the third floor of the Artificer Association. After Lung Xiaoyu reached the third floor, he knocked symbolically and pushed the door open. Damn it! Who allowed you to barge into the meeting room? Suddenly, a roar sounded in Lung Xiaoyu's ear. It's been many years since we last met, President Yao. Your voice is full of energy. It seems like you've taken care of yourself a lot. Lung Xiaoyu teased calmly. You. Lung Xiaoyu. Yao Yuan, who was sitting on the chair, stood up in shock and looked at him in disbelief. Chapter 984. The House That Changed Hands, 2. Wasn't Leng Xiaoyu captured by the Ascender Alliance? Why was he here? Yuan Biao was really too useless. He couldn't even watch over a person. He couldn't help but grumble in his heart. To be honest, after hearing that Leng Xiaoyu had been locked up by Yuan Biao, he was actually even happier than hearing that he could be the president. Because this damn man had always been his greatest enemy. He was also the person he hated the most in his life. President Yao must not want to see me, Leng Xiaoyu said with a light smile. How could that be? I heard that you were locked up by Yuan Biao. I've been worried about you. Yao Yuan said insincerely. Sigh. President Yao is so good at talking. Leng Xiaoyu sighed. Damn it, are you saying that I'm not good elsewhere? Yao Yuan roared angrily. After seeing Leng Xiaoyu, the anger in his heart could not help but surge. At least you know your limits, Leng Xiaoyu said angrily. Hee. It felt good to anger someone. You. Yao Yuan pointed at Leng Xiaoyu, unable to say a complete sentence. His entire body was trembling with anger. Calm down. If anything happens to you, you'll feel guilty, Leng Xiaoyu said very seriously. Then his gaze swept across everyone in the conference room. Other than Mo Yan, his master, who was sitting at the head of the table, he did not know anyone else. Other than his master who was smiling at him, the gazes of the others were not friendly, or could be said to be ignored. Yao Yuan was so angry that he fainted. You fainted just like that. I didn't say anything. Leng Xiaoyu looked at the others innocently, and said aggrievedly. What else do you want to say? Everyone couldn't help but grumble in their hearts. Yao Yuan was famous because of his looks. However, Leng Xiaoyu now thought that he hadn't grown up. How could a pretty boy accept this? Wake him up. A president who doesn't even have this bit of endurance. I really wonder if he can manage such an important association well? At this moment, the handsome man sitting beside Mo Yan said indifferently. Moreover, from his tone, he seemed to be very disdainful of Yao Yuan. Yes, a middle-aged man hurriedly replied. Then he took out a pill from his storage ring, and wanted to feed it to Yao Yuan. However, Leng Xiaoyu stopped him. Wait, let me do it. Don't waste the pills, Leng Xiaoyu said with a wicked smile. The middle-aged man was stunned for a moment before putting the pill away. He couldn't ask for more if someone was willing to do it for him. That was one less pill wasted. He was dumbfounded immediately after. Leng Xiaoyu roughly pulled the unconscious Yao Yuan away from the table. Then he started punching and kicking him. When everyone saw this scene, they could not help but be dumbfounded. However, it was undeniable that the effect of this beating was surprisingly good. Not long after, Yao Yuan, who was already bruised and swollen, woke up. When Yao Yuan woke up, he realized that his entire body was aching and his bones seemed to have broken. Moreover, there seemed to be footprints on his body. The anger in his heart could not help but burn again. Damn it! Who did this? Who? Yao Yuan roared at the top of his lungs. At this moment, he had long forgotten the environment he was in, and also forgot that Mo Yan, whom he was bent on pleasing, was watching his performance. It's me. Leng Xiaoyu saw that no one answered for him, so he could only speak for himself. Damn it, how dare you hit me? Yao Yuan gritted his teeth. I didn't hit you. Leng Xiaoyu's expression was very innocent. Then what are these footprints on my body? Don't tell me they ran onto me by themselves? Yao Yuan said hatefully. You fainted. I was only responsible for saving you, that's all. Leng Xiaoyu explained with a smile. After beating Yao Yuan up, he felt much better. How did you wake me up? Yao Yuan could not help asking. Do you want to know? Do you need me to demonstrate again? Leng Xiaoyu asked calmly. Yes. Yao Yuan nodded subconsciously. Then he realized what he was asking for. However, it was too late. Leng Xiaoyu's fist had already hit him. There was a bang, 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 of fists hitting something and the sound of ghosts crying and wolves howling at the same time. Yao Yuan could not help but cry out in pain. However, the more he shouted, the harder Leng Xiaoyu punched him. Don't cry out that if you're a man, Leng Xiaoyu said as he beat him up. Leng Xiaoyu, I won't let you off. Yao Yuan cried bitterly and said fiercely. All right. I'll wait for you. Lung Xiaoyu beat him up a few more times before stopping. After beating him up, Lung Xiaoyu dusted his hands and sat down in Yao Yuan's seat. Master, I heard that the rules in the city have changed? Lung Xiaoyu asked bluntly. What rules? Mo Yan said very cooperatively. He knew that this disciple of his definitely had a reason for beating up Yao Yuan. In fact, he was also a protective person. Unfortunately, he had not been able to help much in the matter of his disciple being captured. Therefore, he was a little apologetic to his only disciple. Ever since he found out that he had been rescued from the Ascender Alliance, the guilt in his heart had increased. Therefore, at this time, he naturally did not hesitate to stand on his disciple's side. No teams with more people are allowed to enter the city, Lung Xiaoyu said indifferently. There's such a rule? Why didn't I know about it? Mo Yan's incomparably handsome face was filled with question marks. Before the start of the weapon refinement competition this time, he had already expected that there would be many people coming. Therefore, he specially instructed to strengthen the security in the city to avoid unnecessary trouble. As for the rule that his obedient disciple mentioned, he really didn't know. I heard that this rule was set by our president Yao Yuan. Lung Xiaoyu sneered. Yao Yuan, did you set this rule? Mo Yan narrowed his eyes and asked in an unfriendly tone. Chapter 985. The House That Changed Hands 3. Yes. Sir Mo Yan, I set this rule for the sake of the safety of Flame City. I was afraid that someone would take the opportunity to sneak in and cause trouble. So I ordered the guards guarding the city not to let more groups enter the city. Yao Yuan explained guiltily. Is that so? Then why were there a few groups with about the same number of people that we have were let into the city? Lung Xiaoyu asked with a light smile. There's such a thing? Mo Yan pulled a long face, clearly displeased. I am not sure about that, Yao Yuan said. Master, I brought little Shuer and the others to see you. However, only I came in. The others were stopped outside, Lung Xiaoyu complained. In that case, take my token and bring them in. I told you long ago to change the token, but you refused. Now you're being looked down on. Mo Yan said in a teasing and serious manner. Then he took out a golden token from his ring and handed it to Lung Xiaoyu. There were a total of 5 types of tokens in the Artificer Association. The highest level and authority was purple gold. That was something that only the president of the Artificer Association was qualified to hold. The vice president held a golden token, and the higher-ups held silver tokens. The president and vice president of the Artificer Association of the Divine Continent all held silver tokens. The token of the artificers of the association headquarters was blue, and the ordinary artificers' tokens were red. Because Lung Xiaoyu's token was red and he had brought so many people to the city, he was stopped by the guards guarding the city. In fact, this was also Yao Yuan's order. Lung Xiaoyu did not reach out to take the golden token from Mo Yan. Instead, she smiled faintly and said, Master, there's no need. Little Shuer said that she won't enter Flame City unless the president personally accepts it. Oh, looks like this little girl is angry. All right, President Yao, please welcome her personally. Mo Yan chuckled and made the final decision. His words clearly did not allow Yao Yuan to refuse. He knew that it was that little girl who saved his disciple, so he naturally had to give that girl face. However, even if his disciple was not saved by that little guy, just because she was his disciple's descendant, he had to love her. Sir Mo Yan Yao Yuan wanted to refuse, but he didn't dare to say it easily. After all, Mo Yan's status in the Artificer Association was much higher than his backer. President Yao, is there a problem? Mo Yan asked with a faint smile. A chill flashed across his eyes. No problem. Yao Yuan's heart trembled as he hurriedly said. Then go and fetch them in. I still want to see that little girl. Don't neglect my guests. Mo Yan reminded. Yes, I know what to do. Yao Yuan said very respectfully. Then hurry up. Mo Yan urged. Sir Mo Yan, Sir Lu Feng, I'll go first. Yao Yuan bowed and was about to leave, but he was stopped by Lung Xiaoyu. Wait, President Yao is really insincere, Lung Xiaoyu accused with displeasure. Lung Xiaoyu, how am I insincere? Yao Yuan was furious. He was about to pick her up, but Lung Xiaoyu actually wanted to find trouble with him. It was really infuriating. You didn't even call me when you went to pick her up. Do you know who my little Shuer is? Lung Xiaoyu said indifferently. Yes, you're right. You have to go with Xiaoyu. Mo Yan said before Yao Yuan could speak. Then let's go. Yao Yuan whispered reluctantly. What did you say? Your voice is too soft for me to hear. Lung Xiaoyu said deliberately. Please come with me to pick her up. Yao Yuan gritted his teeth and said loudly. What? Do you want to eat people? Lung Xiaoyu was dissatisfied again. Lung Xiaoyu, you're clearly doing it on purpose. Yao Yuan roared a little uneasily. Master. He wronged me. Lung Xiaoyu complained to her master, without even looking at Yao Yuan. Alright, hurry up and pick up that little girl. Don't let her wait too long. Mo Yan said helplessly. He realized that his long-lost disciple had actually learned bad things. Alright. Yao Yuan, remember this. I only accompanied you on this trip because of Master. Lung Xiaoyu reminded before walking ahead without looking back. When Lung Xiaoyu, Yao Yuan, and the others arrived at the city gate, they realized that there were already many people gathered here. What happened? Captain Zhao, who came with Yao Yuan, hurriedly went forward and shouted when he saw that there were actually people at the city gate. Captain, you're finally here. Boo-hoo. When the two city guards saw Captain Zhao, they were even closer than when they saw their biological father. They were just short of kneeling down. What's wrong with you? Who hit you? Captain Zhao couldn't help but be angry when he saw his subordinate's face swollen like a pig's head. Damn it, did he have to look at the owner before hitting a dog? Didn't he know that these two were his subordinates? How dare they not give him face in Flame City? How dare they? He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Who dares to hit the guards of Flame City? They accidentally fell down. Fonda chuckled. Yes, they fell themselves. We saw it happen, someone else chimed in. You fell? Did you really fall? Captain Zhao suppressed his anger and asked. Damn it. He wasn't blind. Couldn't he tell that this was a beating? Yes, yes. The two guards nodded hurriedly in fear. Boo. They didn't dare to say no. Those people had said that if they dared to betray them, they would definitely teach them a lesson. You. Captain Zhao was so angry that his face turned green seeing how his subordinates had no backbone. Haha. We haven't seen each other for a while. How did you fall like this? Suddenly, Lung Xiaoyu's voice entered everyone's ears. Lung Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes and looked at Lung Xiaoyu, who was winking at her. Then she chuckled and said, Cheap sake old ancestor, who's the pig beside you? Come over quickly. Don't stand with him. It will affect your image. Yes, little Shuer makes sense. Lung Xiaoyu nodded seriously. Then she deliberately distanced herself from Yao Yuan and showed him to everyone. Chapter 986. The House That Changed Hands for. Ah, who is this? Everyone seemed to have just seen Yao Yuan and immediately turned pale with fright, because the masterpiece on this person's face was not inferior to the two guards. Let me introduce everyone. This is the president of our Flame City's Artificer Association, Yao Yuan. Lung Xiaoyu said loudly and pulled Yao Yuan out from behind him. Damn it, let go of me. Yao Yuan roared angrily. He glared at Lung Xiaoyu with fire in his eyes, wishing he could bore a hole in his body. Yao Yuan, you can't be so shy as the president of the Artificer Association. Lung Xiaoyu reminded him earnestly. His words almost made Yao Yuan explode with anger. I'm not shy, the Yao family roared angrily. He knew that this damn Lung Xiaoyu was clearly doing it on purpose. Lung Xiaoyu. I'll remember this debt. Cheap sake old ancestor. So the president of the Artificer Association of the Flame City looks like this. Lung Ruoxue said in realization and disappointment. Yes, well, make do. Anyway, we won't be able to look at him for too many days. Lung Xiaoyu comforted. Sigh. I wonder if I can still eat dinner after seeing him. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with worry. Yao Yuan, who was so angry that he was about to explode, raised his head and was about to curse. However, When he saw the peerless beauty not far away, he was stunned. Who was this woman? She was so beautiful. He had never seen such a beautiful woman in his life. Looking at Lung Ruoxia, his swollen eyes that were only left with a slit released countless hearts. Deep in his heart, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. After a while, Yao Yuan came back to his senses and looked at Lung Ruoxia in embarrassment. I'm Yao Yuan, the president of the Flame City's Artificer Association. May I know your name? Are you the one who stipulated that no groups with more people are allowed to enter the city? Lung Ruoxia asked with a light smile. This is all a misunderstanding. Yao Yuan hurriedly said. I know very well whether it's a misunderstanding or not. Tell me now. There are so many of us here. Do you plan to personally invite us into the city? Or do you want us to return directly? Give us a straightforward answer. Lung Ruoxia said to herself, not even bothering to look at Yao Yuan. However, the injuries on that guy's face couldn't be the work of the cheap sake old ancestor, right? She couldn't help but think to herself. Exactly. Give us a straight answer. We can't make this trip for nothing. I beg Excellency Mo Yin to uphold justice. Someone shouted as soon as Lung Ruoxia finished speaking. I'm here to personally invite you into the city, Yao Yuan said weakly. Boo-hoo. The little beauty was angry with him. Only me. Lung Ruoxia deliberately emphasized. No. Everyone. Yao Yuan felt for the first time that he wanted to burrow into the ground facing everyone's covetous gazes. How? Lung Ruoxia asked again. Yao Yuan wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and thought to himself. What does this little beauty mean? Inviting meant inviting. What other way was there? We've been stopped outside the city for so long. We were exposed to the wind and sun, hungry and hot. You have to compensate us, right? Lung Ruoxia chuckled. Everyone, we didn't think this through. I'm sorry everyone. Why don't you follow us into the city first? As for the rest, we can talk about it. At this moment, a middle-aged man spoke before Yao Yuan. Can you make the decision? Lung Ruoxia raised her eyelids slightly and asked coldly. I can make the decision. The middle-aged man braced himself and said. Alas! He couldn't let these people block the city gate. How could this be? Can he make the decision? President Zhu won. Zhu means pig. Lung Ruoxia clearly didn't believe the middle-aged man and looked at Yao Yuan. Yes, my surname is not Zhu. My surname is Yao. Yao Yuan reminded helplessly. It doesn't matter, Lung Ruoxia said indifferently. Then she said to the others present. Since the Artificer Association is willing to compensate us, let's give President Zhu some face and enter the city. Good. Everyone was cooperative. Lung Ruoxia and the others passed Yao Yuan and walked straight into the Flame City. The others followed closely behind. As for the two guards guarding the city and the representative of the Artificer Association, they were left behind. After entering Flame City, Lung Ruoxia and the others greeted the other teams and let Lung Xiaoyu bring them to his residence in Flame City. After walking a few streets, Lung Ruoxia and the others came to a rather imposing house. Cheap sake old ancestor, is this your residence in Flame City? Lung Ruoxia asked softly. Yes, actually, I haven't lived here for long. I didn't expect this house to be maintained well. Lung Xiaoyu looked at the clean and tall building in front of her, and said with satisfaction. At this moment, the door of the house suddenly opened. A middle-aged man who looked like a butler walked out. When he saw them, he frowned and shouted. Stay away from here. Not everyone can come here. My master is resting. If you wake him up, you won't have a good time. Lung Ruoxia and the others were stunned when they heard the middle-aged man's words. Then they looked at Lung Xiaoyu in confusion. Cheap sake old ancestor, isn't this your home? Lung Ruoxia's beautiful face was full of question marks. Chapter 987. Chapter 987 Repayment of Debt 1. Yeah. Lung Xiaoyu nodded. Even though he hadn't been back here for a long time, but he wouldn't go to the wrong house. Who are you? Why haven't I seen you before? After thinking about it, Lung Xiaoyu, who felt something was wrong, asked again. I'm the head butler of this house, and there's no one in this flame city who doesn't know me. It seems that you all come from a small place. Humph. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out of here. Don't put bad luck on my master. The head butler said with disgust, as if Lung Ruoxue and others were the source of infection. Haha. Cheap old ancestor. It looks like this place has changed hands. Lung Ruoxue looked at the middle-aged man who claimed to be the big head butler, and smiled neither angry nor frustrated. It's impossible. Lung Xiaoyu was sure that this place will not be given to others, because this place was given to him by his master, and it could be regarded as a privilege for him as an apprentice. Moreover, as far as he knew, master had already bought this house, so how could it change hands? Could it be that cheap sake old ancestor got lost? This really isn't your home? Lung Ruoxue guessed, seeing how the cheap sake old ancestor was so sure, but the housekeeper's way of treating them as dirty things really made people very unhappy, so whether or not this is cheap sake old ancestor's residence, she decided to teach this dog a good lesson. How could I get lost? Lung Xiaoyu said speechlessly. Aren't you lot getting lost yet? Get lost otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. At this moment, the housekeeper jumped out again and shouted. Why do you want to be rude? Lung Ruoxue looked at the head butler with a half-smiling smile. There were quite a few people who had threatened her like this, but they didn't end up too well either. Humph. I'll let someone kick you out of here. If you don't hurry up and get lost. The butler said fiercely. Okay. Well, wait. Fonda said with a wicked smile, his face full of disapproval. You forced this upon yourself. The head butler said with a wicked smile, and then shouted towards the courtyard. Come. There are people making trouble here. Lung Ruoxue and the others watched with cold eyes, as the butler direct and act, and they didn't plan to stop him, but they couldn't guarantee what would happen to him. Before the butler could finish speaking, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several dark shadows rushed out of the yard like lightning. Who is so bold, who dare to come to our D family to make trouble? A burly man in the lead roared and asked. Them. The butler pointed at Lung Ruoxue and the others. Oh, you guys are really brave. Do you know where is this place? How dare you act wildly here? The burly man said with disdain. D family. If I remember correctly, this is my home. How could it belong to the D family? Lung Xiaoyu's dark star eyes radiated cold light, and he asked in a cold voice. Your home? Humph. Don't you even look at where this place is? Not just anyone can live here. Really? Since that's the case, I'll let you know today who this place should belong to. Lung Xiaoyu was furious. There would be very serious consequences. After speaking, Lung Xiaoyu directly stretched out his fist and attacked the burly man. Fonda, you go and play with them for a while. Lung Ruoxue also ordered when she saw that the cheap sake old ancestor had started. Okay. Fonda and the others responded quickly, and after they finished speaking, they rushed out together. Bang, bang, bang. Immediately, the sound of the fist and the flesh banging one after another sounded. The pain from the fist to the flesh made the burly big man and others grunt. They hated it even more in their hearts. Nima. Where did this savage come from? How could they use their fists without using magical skills? How could they, who have always relied on magical skills, bear it? When the butler saw this posture, his face became pale and his legs were trembling with fright. Sueju dragged the butler to the corner of the wall like a chicken, and then, together with Lu Tao, began to greet him. They are girls, and of course fights had to be more subtle. However, the harm and consequences they caused to the housekeeper were absolutely no worse than any other man. After a long while, Lung Xiaoyu and the others had enough of fighting, so they clapped their hands in disgust, then looked down at the burly man and the others, and said, "Let's get the master of this house out. Otherwise, the consequences will be severe." Hee, that's right, if he doesn't get out within 5 minutes, we'll set the house on fire. Ha! If we can't live there, don't let anyone live there. Fonda threatened in the tone of a bully. Do you know how to report to your master? Lin Yuan got a small wooden stick out of nowhere, and asked the burly man's head. Why? Yes. The burly man said with hot tears in his eyes. Boo! Where did these savages come from? Why are they so fierce? Then go quickly. Remember, 5 minutes only. Lin Yuan warned. Yes. Yes. After speaking, the burly man ran into the yard without looking back. The 5 minutes passed quickly, but the burly man did not appear, and the master he mentioned was nowhere to be seen. Miss, it seems that people don't care about this house anymore. Fonda said helplessly. Well, let's do it since that's the case. Lung Ruoxue said lightly. Good. Fonda took a peek at Lung Xiaoyu after listening to Lung Ruoxue's words, but he was relieved when he saw that he had no reaction. In fact, he said just now that he would burn down the house, just to scare the other party, but now he has to do it. Well, the other party really doesn't give face. Immediately, Fonda summoned his own fire-type beast, and then ordered them to burn the house. The beasts hovered excitedly in the air as soon as they were released. In the moment, the air was dyed a deep crimson, and they grew their own bodies. The fire phoenix and the fire dragon cooperated with each other, and several flames sprayed from every corner. Chapter 988. Chapter 988 Repayment of Debt. 2. In an instant, fire blazed into the sky, and the incomparably hot flames quickly destroyed most of the huge house, and the servants hurried out of the courtyard. However, when those servants saw Lung Ruoxue and the others, they all turned pale with fright and dared not move at all. The burly man was standing among the servants at this time. He looked at Lung Ruoxue and the others with a complicated expression, and he couldn't tell what it was like because he never dreamed that someone would actually dare to be there. The Artificer Association would not stand by and do things like burning other people's houses in Flame City. Where's your master? The one with the surname D? Fonda asked coldly, looking at the crowd in front of him. The servants hurriedly shook their heads and said they didn't know, but Fonda didn't believe their nonsense. Seeing their guilty conscience, he knew that these people definitely knew where that D person went. Not telling? You're adding fire to oil. Fonda didn't waste his breath and ordered directly. Looking at the fire that filled the sky, he couldn't help sighing in his heart. Hee. This fire phoenix and fire dragon were simply familiar with doing this kind of thing. They looked like habitual criminals. Hearing their master's order, and feeling the pride from the master's heart, the beasts worked harder, and the flames soaring to the sky spurted out of their mouths. Boom! With a loud noise, the entire house was completely reduced to ashes. Stop! Suddenly, a loud shout sounded in everyone's ears at the same time, but unfortunately it was a bit late. You are so bold, how dare you make trouble in Flame City? The person who spoke said again. Lung Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes lightly and looked at the person who made the sound. This was a man who looked about 30 years old. Even though his facial features were ordinary and his strength was only at the level of an intermediate god. However, the aura of the superior was clearly revealed, and there was a strange little old man standing beside him who looked to be in his 50s. He had a wretched face and a pair of mung bean-sized eyes which were staring at them with hatred. President Liu, these people dare to come to my house to make trouble. You have to uphold justice for me. The wretched old man said first before Lung Ruoxue, and the others could speak. Don't worry, I will definitely uphold justice on this matter for you. President Liu assured. In fact, he didn't want to be too involved in this matter, but this was the Flame City after all. If these people are allowed to do whatever they want on the Artificer Association's territory, wouldn't they become the laughing stock of the entire Divine Continent? I am relieved with President Liu's assurance. The wretched old man said. You're not the master they say, are you? Fonda interrupted when he saw that they were singing in harmony. Exactly. The wretched old man said arrogantly. I thought you were hiding like a coward. It turned out that you were getting rescue soldiers, but even if the King of Heaven comes today, he wouldn't be able to help you. Fonda sneered. The audacity. How dare you talk to me with such a tone? You really don't want to live. The wretched old man said angrily. Since he became famous, everyone had been showing him respect and no one has ever dared to scold him. Yo, who do you think you are? You're just an artificer, and you really think of yourself to be so important in the world. Fonda said disapprovingly, not taking the old man's words to heart at all. You. The wretched old man was trembling with anger, pointing at Fengde for a long time without uttering a complete sentence. After a long while, when his mood calmed down a little, he turned his head and said angrily to President Liu, "President Liu, how can there be such disrespectful people in Flame City? I strongly request the Artificer Association to drive these people out of Flame City." Yes, Your Excellency, Dirun is right. Such people are really not welcome in Flame City. President Liu pondered for a while before saying, even though people said it was not him, but people who didn't respect artificers, they would indeed become the public enemy of the artificers. And the Artificer Association also had a legitimate reason to expel them from the city. Now please take the initiative to leave Flame City immediately, otherwise, I will have to send someone to invite you out. President Liu turned a face to Lung Ruoxue and the others. We won't. Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Humph. It's up to you. President Liu said angrily, fuck, he had just returned to the Flame City, tired and hungry, and he didn't even catch his breath, before he was caught by Dirun. Now he encountered these people who don't take him seriously. One can imagine how angry he was. Really? We were personally invited by President Zhu into Flame City. Are you sure you want to expel us? Lung Ruoxue said with a half-smile, even though she didn't want to look for trouble. It was obvious that the heavens felt she was too boring. That's why, did you generously send her toys one after another? President Zhu? Humph. You think I'm so easy to deceive. There is no President Zhu in the Artificer Association at all. Come here. Expel them from the Flame City to me, and pass my order. In the future these people will, if they are not welcomed by the Artificer Association, whoever dares to get them to refine without authorization will be the enemy of our Artificer Association. President Liu announced angrily. This was the punishment he gave to these people on behalf of the Artificer Association. In his opinion, this punishment was not too heavy. After all, the most important and people he could not offend in the God realm were the artificers and the alchemists. Once this decision was announced, these people would definitely not be welcomed by the major forces in the future. But who could they blame? The person who they offended was an artificer. Cheapsake old ancestor, shall we go? Lung Ruoxue asked with a light smile. President Liu, are you sure you won't regret your decision? Lung Xiaoyu did not rush to answer Lung Ruoxue's words, but instead asked President Liu, why should I regret? You disrespected the artificer first. I just fulfilled the rules of the Artificer Association. President Liu said in a businesslike manner, even though he hesitated for a moment when answering, but it was only for a moment, because he believed that his method of handling was correct. In that case, little Schwer, let's go. Lung Xiaoyu said with a calm smile. Chapter 989. Chapter 989 Repayment of Debt 3. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded, and then planned to take everyone out of here. But she was stopped by the wretched old man before going far. Get out of the way. Good dogs don't stand in the way. Lung Ruoxue squinted her beautiful eyes and said a little rudely, Humph. You ruined my house and you just want to leave like this. The wretched old man roared in anger. What do you want? Lung Ruoxue asked with a light smile. You must compensate for my losses. The wretched old man said without hesitation. How am I supposed to compensate you? Lung Ruoxue asked in confusion. This house cost me a lot of crystals. How about this? You can compensate me with 1,000,000 supreme-grade crystals. The wretched old man said with a magnanimous face. 1,000,000 supreme-grade crystals? Are you sure? Lung Ruoxue asked with a half-smile. Of course, it has even been discounted for you. Otherwise you would have to pay more. The wretched old man said in a kind-hearted manner. You're such a kind-hearted person, but I want to know how many supreme-grade crystals would we have to compensate if it wasn't discounted? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. Based on my house, if I don't discount it, you have to compensate me at least 2,000,000 supreme-grade crystals. The wretched old man thought for a while and said, in fact, this house did not require so much money, but of course he had his own purpose. This house is really expensive. Let me tell you the truth. We have no money, so do you want our life? Lung Ruoxua asked slightly mockingly. I don't want your life. Since you don't have any money, you can stay as collateral. You can leave when you pay off the money. The wretched old man said bluntly, and when he said them, he was naturally referring to Fengda et al., cheap sake old ancestor. This old man wants to keep me to pay off his debts. What do you think? Lung Ruoxua asked Lung Xiaoyu and others for their opinions innocently. If that's the case, then Xiao Shuer, you should stay behind to pay off the debt. Lung Xiaoyu said in a difficult way. Freak. After listening to Lung Xiaoyu's words, Lung Ruoxia's beautiful eyes were filled with tears, and she looked at her man pitifully. Shuer, I will work hard to make money and redeem you. The freak's incomparably handsome face was full of reluctance. Shuer, you have to take care of yourself. Lung Qingtian and Lung Ruhan said in unison. Miss, take care. Lu Tao and Cui Zhu also had tears in their eyes, their faces filled with unwillingness. Miss, you have to wait for us. Fengda and the others said goodbye to Lung Ruoxua. And after that, everyone turned their heads every 3 steps and left reluctantly. His jaw almost dropped seeing how easily the gang left his young miss. This was really incredible. He didn't know why, but he felt that this was not normal, because those people, it doesn't look like it's so easily manipulated. Otherwise, how could they burn down his master's house? Old man, now my relatives and subordinates have left. I don't know how you want me to repay the debt? Lung Ruoxua asked with a light smile, and then removed the darling from the bracelet and held it in her arms. Darling was lying very obediently in the arms of the lovely master, with big bright eyes full of curiosity and innocence looking at the wretched old man in front of it. And then, a little scared, said, Cute master, what does he want to do to us? I don't know. Lung Ruoxua said calmly while stroking Darling's soft fluff. Grandpa, what do you want to do to us? Seeing that Darling couldn't get an answer from the lovely master, it had to turn to the wretched old man for help. Grandpa? Damn it, am I that old? Dirun was a little flabbergasted when he heard the title. Lovely master, did I address him wrongly? Darling was very aggrieved, and the tears kept rolling in its eyes. Darling is not wrong. He is indeed an old grandfather. Lung Ruoxua quickly comforted. You guys. Humph. From now on, you will be my personal maidservant. Dirun said while holding back his anger. Personal maidservant? I don't know how much debt I can pay off by being your maid, and personal in what way? Lung Ruoxia's face was full of question marks. Humph. You'll know when the time comes. Dirun snorted coldly. Your Excellency Dirun, since this matter has been resolved, I will leave first. At this time, President Lu said. Haha, thank you for the help, President Lu. Dirun said in a good mood. Even though the house was destroyed, but what is a mere house to be able to get such a stunning beauty as a maid? After President Lu left, Dirun put on the air of the master and ordered Lung Ruoxua. As a maid, you must follow the master's orders. The master says 1, you are not allowed to say 2. You must absolutely obey my order, otherwise you will be served with the family law. Oh, Lung Ruoxua replied indifferently, without even raising her head. She continued to lower her head to smooth Darling's hair, while Darling closed its eyes comfortably. Damn it, did you hear what I said? Dirun roared a little furiously, and decided to give Lung Ruoxua an opening gambit. You're so loud I'm not deaf, how can I not hear you? Lung Ruoxua said impatiently, alas. She really didn't know if she could continue this play, because this old man was so disgusting. What's that attitude? Is that how you talk to the master? Dirun said with his anger on the line. I'm sorry. Old man, I've never been a maid for anyone. Besides, I have been having this attitude since I was young. How do you like it? Lung Ruoxua said nonchalantly. You. Kneel down, someone. Serve the family law. Dirun saw that he had been humiliated in front of many servants, and his anger rushed up. Kneel down. Lung Ruoxua raised her eyebrows slightly, and glanced at the wretched old man from the corner of her eye, and then she said nothing. Yes. Kneel down. Dirun shouted, and then shouted for his head butler. Butler, why haven't you gotten the instrument to carry out our family law? The instrument Dirun mentioned was a long stick that he often uses to beat and scold servants. The stick he mentioned was stored away by the butler after he punished servants who have made mistakes. Chapter 990, Repayment of Debt 4. Master, our house is gone. Where can I get it? The butler said with some fear. At this time, his fear of Lung Ruoxue and others was still fresh, so he didn't dare to look at Lung Ruoxue. Yeah. The house is gone. Are we going to stay at night? Lung Ruoxue also said. Humph. I'm the best artificer in the Artificer Association. Would I have no place to live? Di-Ren shouted loudly after hearing Lung Ruoxue's words. In that case, I advise you to find a place to live for yourself first. Otherwise, so many of us will have to accompany you on the street. Lung Ruoxue reminded. You don't need to teach me. I'm the master. Di-Ren was a little annoyed and angry. Then hurry up and find a place. Lung Ruoxue urged, but couldn't help muttering in his heart. It seemed that Di-Ren was also a nouveau riche, otherwise, which master would refer to himself as the master so often. Only people who are extremely insecure do this. Follow me, Di-Ren ordered, and then he walked at the front with his head held high, while the other servants followed closely behind him. Lung Ruoxue naturally followed at the last of the row. What are you doing? You walk darn slow. I warn you, don't try to run away. Di-Ren turned back and warned. Don't worry. I won't run. Lung Ruoxue assured her very innocently, though she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. If she really wanted to run, could these people stop her? However, the fun has not started yet. Therefore, she would not leave even if she was driven away. That's good. Di-Ren warned and continued to walk forward. After a while, they came to an inn that looked quite luxurious and imposing. After seeing Di-Ren, the shopkeeper of the inn hurriedly greeted him respectfully, and asked a little puzzled. Your Excellency Di-Ren, why are you here? Shopkeeper, give me a few sweets, I'm going to stay for a few days. Di-Ren said bluntly. Okay. The shopkeeper was a little puzzled. Why did His Excellency Di-Ren come to the inn even though he lived in such a nice house? Alas! The thoughts of these people with status were really strange. At this time, Di-Ren's house was burned down and it has not been spread here, so he is not clear. Just when the shopkeeper wanted to take Di-Ren upstairs, suddenly, a voice sounded around everyone's ears. Miss Lung, are you here too? Yeah. That old man brought me here, and I'm his maidservant now. Lung Ruoxue looked at the young man in front of him, and explained with a light smile. This man was none other than the one they met at the door previously. The young man was stunned for a while, a little speechless. How did Miss Lung become the personal maid of a bad old man in the short time they parted? Looking at the disheveled and scarred subordinates behind Di-Ren, the fire of his gossip was raging. The old man's name is Di-Ren. He seems to be the chief artificer of this flame city, and I ordered my subordinate to burn down his house. So now I have to pay off the debt until my subordinate pays off the crystals owed to him. Only then can I be free. Lung Ruoxue explained indifferently, not having the consciousness and emotional depression of being a servant girl at all. So that's the case. I wonder how many crystals Miss Lung owes him? The young man was very curious, but he had already decided in his heart that it must be the old man who had a crush on Lung Ruoxue. Otherwise, why else would he get such a beautiful young girl as a maid? 2 million supreme grade crystals, but the old man gave me a 50% discount. Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. What kind of house is so expensive? The young man was stunned, and he was even more convinced of the evil intentions in that good-for-nothing. His family's houses put together would not need 2 million supreme grade crystals. He didn't believe that Di-Ren's house was comparable to his home, even though Di-Ren was the chief artificer of Flame City. I don't know, but that house is now in ruins. Lung Ruoxue said with a bit of pleasure in misfortune. Also, let me tell you, that house is not owned by Old Man D at all, but by my ancestors, and it was taken over by someone surnamed D for some unknown reason. Lung Ruoxue's face was full of confusion. There is such a thing? The young man was very cooperative as he paled in shock. Yes, by the way, we have now been blacklisted by the Artificer Association, so all my subordinates have been expelled from Flame City, and President Liu, who is the old man's backing, Also said that in the future they would not allow artificers to refine anything for us. Lung Ruoxia then broke the news, and even though her voice was not loud, it was enough to ensure that everyone in the store could hear it clearly. This is a bit too much. Isn't President Liu trying to force you to a dead end? The young man came to a very important conclusion, which was exactly what Lung Ruoxia wanted. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.